It all kicks off in a massive, packed arena, where a fighter rocking a crisp white G is gearing up for a major showdown. The ref throws his hand down, signaling the match is officially a go. Wasting zero time, the bout starts with a lightning, fast clash between the two competitors. The fighter named Dorian charges in full throttle and immediately tries to pass his opponent's guard. Finding an opening, he easily takes his rival's back like it is nothing. The champ adjusts his position for the finish, getting a rock, solid grip on the fabric of his opponent's G. With total control of the situation, he forces the submission and locks in the big win. The crowd goes absolutely wild, hyping up the Jiu-Jitsu monster who just bagged his 8th championship in a row. Dorian throws his arms up, totally hyped, flexing his gold medals at the absolute peak of his career. Right then, a reporter rolls up, totally blown away by the unprecedented feat of the first Asian athlete to win that many times in a row, trying to dig up his secret. Totally chill, the champ explains there are zero shortcuts, he just tanked and overcame the grind day after day. But he quickly drops a hint, suggesting that if someone keeps grinding like that, things might just change. The global top dog, who completely owned the competition before retiring, turned into an absolute legend. This grandmaster ended up passing away some time later. A ton of people gather at the funeral to pay their final respects to the iconic fighter. A kid named Jae Cheol Min is watching the memorial looking completely drained. He watches folks paying their respects from a distance, looking super isolated from the rest of the pack. Suddenly, the kid's eyes go wide when he notices something seriously glitchy in the room. Scanning the scene, the boy stares at the line of mourning people bowing at the altar. A little while later, the scene shifts to a messy bedroom, lit up by the morning sun. The spot belongs to Cheol Min and is covered in random stuff, including a picture frame chillin' by his bed. Out of nowhere, the door gets busted open by a woman yelling at the kid to get up already. His mom storms in looking super annoyed, complaining to her daughter that she had to be the one to wake him up. Having zero patience, she starts roughly fixing the tangled blankets. She points her finger and tells the kid to hurry up so he is not late for school. C stays in bed, looking totally defeated by his daily grind. Staring into the mirror, Cheol Min thinks to himself that he is just an average student, or maybe even more invisible than that. But he quickly admits there is exactly one thing that makes him different from everyone else. Standing right there in his own room, the teen feels a super weird presence right next to him. Spooky Phantom is just casually floating by his window. The kid reveals his big quirk is that he can casually see ghosts on a daily basis. Out of the blue, the Phantom turns its head and stares at the boy in a super creepy way. Spooked by the entity's reaction, he quickly looks away, trying to play it cool. Cheol Min figures it is way better to just live his life pretending he doesn't notice anything, keeping his little secret under wraps. The teen grabs his backpack off the bed and gears up for another exhausting day. He is 100% sure that if people find out about his ability, his life is going to become an absolute headache. Walking into the kitchen, his mom asks if he is going to eat, but the kid says he is already running late. The second he turns his back, his stepdad smacks him hard right on the back of the head. The guy gets hostile, demanding respect and roasting the kid for trying to dip without greeting the family. Just taking the L, Cheol Min keeps his head down and swallows the disrespect in total silence. Not wanting to drag it out, our MC puts on his shoes so he can finally leave the house. In the background, his mom calls out her husband for treating the kid like garbage first thing in the morning. The stepdad snaps back, claiming she totally babies her stepson. Out in the apartment hallway, the teen complains internally about having a stepdad who is always looking for a fight and a mom who just tries to smooth everything over. To make his life even better, he also has to deal with a stepsister who treats him like total trash. Walking down the stairs, the kid honestly thinks it would be easier to just vanish than keep living this kind of life. On his way, the boy walks solo down the street heading to his daily doom. Cheol Min finally pulls up to the main gate of Andhra High, walking in a sea of other students. The school courtyard is an absolute dumpster fire, packed with students loitering in the corners and causing trouble. Near the entrance, one of the punks acts super tough and tells another student to get lost immediately. Our MC points out that the place where he studies is already legendary in the area for all the absolute worst reasons. Being a literal trash tier school, it exclusively gathers problem kids who love starting drama every single day. He compares the vibe to wild beasts prowling around looking for easy targets. But the boy explains there is a hack to surviving this food chain, which is basically just casually dodging bumps. Suddenly, a bully steps up looking aggressive and asks if the kid was staring at him. Keeping a flawless poker face, Cheol Min denies it, trying to dodge a fight at all costs. Right then, an acquaintance walks by and greets him using the wrong name, forcing our MC to awkwardly correct him. Walking down the grimy hallway, the teen reflects that having zero presence and being forgettable is a massive buff in this place. Just ahead, a squad of girls is walking by complaining about being bored, with one of them holding a musical instrument. The leader of the little squad looks purely annoyed with having absolutely nothing to do at school. Looking super closed off, Min walks past the girls tightly gripping his backpack straps. One of the girls laughs at him, joking that the loser totally has a crush on their friend. The group leader completely ignores the roast and tells her friend to zip it. The student finally makes it to the door of his classroom. Stepping inside, the untouchable kid's morning always follows the exact same awful routine. Wasting no time, the boy hands over a snack and a juice box to one of the class bullies. His daily school grind literally starts by paying a toll just so he doesn't get treated even worse. Giving props for the food, the punk immediately drops a new order, telling him to rank up his gaming account by the end of the week. Min just nods and accepts the quest without putting up any fight. Heading to the back of the room, the boy sighs, already knowing what is waiting for him. The only reward he ever gets for all this forced labor never changes. The desk drawer of our guy is completely stuffed with random garbage. Mocking the situation, the try-hard tells our MC to clean the desk while totally humiliating him in front of everyone. Some classmates join the roast and laugh, saying his parents have picked his name on purpose since he is so useless. Choosing the quiet route, the teen decides not to talk back, figuring that ignoring them makes it end faster. Without any warning, some white liquid gets dumped right on our MC's head, leaving him totally covered in mess and spooked. Looking annoyed, the blonde bully holds up an empty carton and complains to his buddy about receiving the wrong item on purpose. Covered in the mess, Min just sighs internally, accepting that his daily school nightmare has officially booted up. The liquid slowly drips down the kid's chair, marking yet another rough day. Meanwhile, right outside the main gate, a young woman stops in front of the Andrew High School sign. Full of energy, she stares up at the building super hyped, mentioning that this is the spot where she will get lessons from some Professor Du. Right then, she catches a flashback of a familiar voice asking if she ran away from home again. Memory brings up an image of some guys talking trash in an alley, complaining about their own moms. Shaking off the flashback, the young woman walks up to some students in the courtyard and nicely asks where the teacher's lounge is. Once inside the principal's office, the principal warns her that the students here can be pretty edgy, and it might take a minute to get used to it. Super enthusiastic, the new teacher bows way too hard and promises she will give it her absolute best. Trying to chill her out, the older dude asks her to relax, saying there is no need to be so formal. But his vibe gets serious real quick, warning her to report any issues immediately and to never take extreme measures. The woman looks a bit confused by the warning, not quite getting what he meant by that. Suddenly, a soccer ball crashes right through the window and flies into the room, scaring the absolute life out of the teacher. Through the broken glass, one of the bold students yells from the courtyard, demanding the old man throw the ball back. The principal just gives an awkward laugh, joking that kids these days show up to school ready for sports. And friendly, tosses the ball back. Turning their backs, the brats mock the old guy's nice attitude, until one of them finally realizes they just cursed out the principal himself. Ignoring the disrespect, the old man holds his hand out with a smile and says he has massive expectations for Teacher Du. Completely intimidated by the wild vibe, the young woman just stammers and nods. Soon after, she walks into her classroom and introduces herself all smiles as Duhei-san, the new math teacher. The catch is, the room is an absolute war zone full of fights and chaos, leaving her totally clueless on who she is even supposed to be talking to. In the middle of the madness, Min looks up and instantly recognizes the new staff member. He remembers she is an older girl who used to train in the athlete division of his old gym. A quick flashback shows the young woman easily tapping out an opponent on the mat, making the kid wonder if she completely quit the sport. Not wanting to stand out, our MC just puts his head back down on the desk and minds his own business. Trying to take the wheel, Hassan claps her hands asking for focus, so she can officially start the class. Challenging her right away, one of the punks rests his chin on his hand and mocks her, asking how long it will take for her to quit. Sweating bullets, the woman keeps it professional and reminds the kid that this is literally just her first day on the job. Making it worse, another student jumps up super hyped, suggesting everyone ditch the room and go play outside. Trying to look tough, the teacher tells them straight up that the obvious answer is a hard no. But right at that second, one of the students peeks out the hallway window and announces there is a massive brawl going down outside. Like a total stampede, the entire class jumps out of their seats and rushes out the door to go watch the drama. In a matter of seconds, the room goes completely empty and dead silent. Defeated, the woman lets out a heavy sigh, wondering what on earth is wrong with this school. Out in the hallway, a brutal punch lands right on a student's face, sending the poor guy flying backward. The attacker is the same blonde bully from earlier, screaming at the kid and demanding an apology for bumping into him on purpose. With his face all bruised up, the victim begs for mercy, pleading for him to stop being so unhinged. Watching from a distance, the other students gossip that the kid is getting wrecked again for the same petty reason as always. Denying the apology, the try-hard wins up for another hit, claiming nobody ruins his mood and walks away. Before the punch connects, the new teacher spawns in out of nowhere and catches the bully's fist with just one hand. Completely shook, the blonde guy stares at her, totally clueless on how she stopped his swing so fast, while the crowd wonders where she even came from. Totally calm, San scolds the guy, saying students should not be fighting and reminding them they are supposed to be in class. Intimidated by her serious energy, the troublemaker gulps and stutters that she is right. Happy they are listening, the teacher flashes a slightly creepy smile and tells everyone to get back to class. Ruining the peace instantly, a juice box gets chucked super hard and nails the teacher right in the forehead. The crowd of students watches the whole thing totally stunned by the audacity of the snipe. The drink drips down the woman's face while she freezes in place, radiating a dark aura full of bottled up rage. Seeing she is not going to strike back, the blonde bully gets his confidence back and starts mocking her again, sarcastically asking if a teacher thinks she can bully students like that. Shaking with anger, Hassan balls up her fist super tight while her old master's voice echoes in her head, calling her out. The flashback shows the coach giving her a massive lecture, demanding she keep her promise to never start trouble off the mat. Not handling the scolding well, the younger version of her yells back, claiming the other guy started it. Pointing a stick at her, the old master warns that it does not justify severely injuring an opponent, threatening a horrible punishment if she messes up again. Snapping back to reality, the teacher looks down, trying to swallow her bruised pride no matter what. The image of a dark funeral altar flashes in her mind, reminding her of how heavy that old promise really is. Fighting her own instincts, she repeats to herself that she has to hold back, and that she will never street fight again out of respect for her master. Standing in the crowd, Cheol-min watches his old training partner get humiliated in absolute silence. Suddenly, our MC's eyes glow a deep blue, showing he just picked up on something supernatural in the room. Taking advantage of the woman standing down, the blonde bully steps up, complaining about her attitude and demanding an answer. Right in Hassan's face, asking in a super toxic tone if she also thinks he is some kind of loser she can just ignore. Before the punk can finish his threat, his face to pure shock as his body is ripped off the ground upside down. Out of nowhere, a hooded spooky dude grabs the blonde guy by the arm and launches him into the air with a flawless throw. With zero chance to defend himself, the guy drops hard, slamming his back straight onto the hallway floor. Sprawled out, the punk groans in pain, totally scrambled and having no idea what just hit him. The entity, completely invisible to normal people, stands tall, radiating an insane and dominant blue aura. Watching from the back, Cheol-min thinks that the worst part about people finding out about his quirk would be dealing with the fallout. He explains that one of those massive headaches is ending up with a spirit tagging along everywhere you go, 24/7. Pulling back the hood, the Phantom reveals himself as Dorayan, the legendary Jiu-Jitsu master who is now haunting our MC. The kid remembers the old news reports about the sad discovery of a body whose passing was super suspicious to everyone. The flashback shows the once great champ slumped in a dark alley, taken out by his own out of the ring drama. The scene shifts to the past at the old gym, where the door gets opened by one of the spot's instructors. The guy looks at the corner of the mat, totally surprised by who is sitting in there. Slumped against the lockers, Cheol-min is staring into the void holding his backpack, looking seriously crushed. Not really getting it, the coach asks what the kid is doing there since there are no classes that day. Looking down, the teen answers that he was told he couldn't train there anymore, and he just came to grab his gear and dip for good. Leaving the old gym, Cheol-min says a super depressing goodbye to the instructor, shutting the door behind him. Right then, two students walk down the hall talking about how the night classes got cancelled out of nowhere. The boy overhears the gossip from afar and gets super confused by the random update. The guys reveal that the grandmaster of the gym ended up passing away from an overdose, calling it ironic since he always roasted addicts. Blatantly shook with the tragic news, our MC can barely process what he just heard. The teen tries to wrap his head around losing someone he used to train with and look up to so much. Back in the present, in the school hallway, the kid stares at the ghostly figure, wondering how he actually lost his life. Glowing with that spooky blue energy, the spirit points right at the student standing in the middle of the chaos. The entity wants to know if the kid can actually see him, making our MC realize his problems are just getting started. Down in the courtyard surrounded by gossiping students, the vibe gets heavy with the massive phantom just standing there. Wasting no time, the ghost screams at the kid to do something instead of just standing there watching. Being super observant chill, Min totally gets why the old master is so furious even after passing on. Turns out the late fighter's own daughter became a teacher and was about to get bullied by an unhinged student. Trying to dodge the responsibility, the teen turns his head and mutters the spirit should go find the cops instead of following him. Disgusted by the cowardly move, Dorian gets right in the boy's face, promising he would take the fall if the kid stopped the fight, leaving the student totally speechless. Realizing the kid is not going to step up, the old fighter lets out a frustrated sigh, looking at his own situation. He locks eyes on the mysterious bracelet he is rocking on his wrist, checking out every detail of the item. Weighing his totally limited options in this state, the Phantom seems to cook up a super risky idea. Sneaking around, the entity glides right behind our MC, who is still trying his best to ignore the school drama. The ghost raises his hand with the magic accessory, ready to put his crazy plan into action right away. A wild flashback reveals that the Grandmaster refused to cross over because he thought his end was totally rigged, basically squaring up with the Reaper himself. Catching the Reaper totally off guard, he locked in a chokehold with zero mercy. Using the Mystic Being's blackout, the fighter managed to swipe that supernatural item off the floor. Back in the present, the champ thinks about how whenever that accessory glows, spooky stuff happens around him. Without any warning, he stretches his arm toward the kid's back totally silently. The bracelet starts glowing with crazy intense energy right before making contact with the student's body. Suddenly, the spirit freezes, feeling a totally different reaction than he expected, looking super surprised. Clueless to all of this, Min stays focused on dodging the drama, thinking that walking away is the best strat to keep himself out of trouble. But then, he feels a weird chill rip through his entire body, completely locking up his legs in the hallway. Totally stunned, our MC feels an overwhelming force hijack his actions, leaving him totally unable to react. With a supernatural slam, the legendary master's ghost dives right in and possesses the kid's body without asking. Blue energy pulses everywhere during the forced takeover right in the middle of the loud hallway. The sync finishes in a flash, downloading all the champ's combat experience straight into the introverted teen. Min's eyes lose their normal spark and turn ice cold, proving he is definitely not behind the wheel anymore. Being puppeted by the entity, the teen moves fast and snags a dark hoodie left on one of the empty desks in the room. Out in the hall, the blonde try-hard is still acting totally toxic, getting mad that the new teacher is just staying quiet while he talks trash. Cranking up the tension, the punk steps even closer and asks in a super sarcastic tone if she thinks he is just some kind of joke. Before the woman can even drop an answer, a hand spawns out of nowhere on the bully's back, ready to go. Caught completely off guard, the problem kid feels his whole world spin violently as he loses his footing. Rocking the hoodie to hide his identity, our MC, piloted by the master, hits an absolutely flawless and brutal throw. The impact is devastating, dragging the blonde guy across the slick hallway floor and making a massive boom. Feeling the brutal slam, the bully groans in pain, trying to get up, totally confused about who had the guts to actually test him. Standing in the middle of the shocked crowd, the mystery savior strikes an intimidating pose worthy of a legit pro fighter. Blinded by rage after getting publicly embarrassed, the punk charges in, demanding to know who his new opponent is. Ignoring all the red flags, the try-hard rushes in to strike back, having zero idea what kind of nightmare he is walking into. With terrifying calmness, the hooded kid dodges the enemy's wild swing with just a simple head movement. Capitalizing on the opening left by the sloppy charge, he locks in another god-tier takedown, using all of the enemy's weight against him. With zero chance to block it, the attacker's body is slammed brutally into the ground with flawless technical precision. Super frustrated about getting wrecked in front of everyone, the kid grinds his teeth, feeling like the absolute biggest loser in school. But the punishment is not over, because the mystery intruder quickly locks in a tight chokehold, using the guy's own clothes. The pressure on his neck cranks up insanely fast, cutting off the punk's air supply and sending him into instant panic. Unable to do anything against a master-level technique, the guy's vision starts going dark as he completely passes out. Problem solved, our MC lets go of the unconscious body and just sits on him, making sure the drama is officially over. Right at that exact second, the possession seems to glitch out and Min violently snaps back into control of his own mind. Realizing the insane spot he just woke up in, the teen mentally freaks out, noticing he literally just slept the biggest bully in school. Around them, the massive crowd of nosy students watches the scene totally speechless, not understanding how a random nobody pulled that off. Teacher Ha-san herself is amazed and shocked by how clean and precise the moves were that just saved her. Dead silence takes over the hallway, while everyone tries to buffer the unbelievable downfall of the school's king. Knowing his peaceful life just got thrown in the trash, the kid jumps up fast and sprints away through the crowd. Without looking back for a single second, he books it down the stairs, trying to find a safe hiding spot ASAP. After running a marathon, Min finally stops on an empty staircase, trying to catch his breath after the crazy escape. He rips off the hoodie he used as a disguise and chucks it in the corner, making sure nobody recognizes his fit from the fight. Totally freaked out, the kid turns to the spirit and demands an explanation right now about what on earth just happened to his body. The phantom just stares at his own hands, totally fascinated by the vibe of possessing someone, completely ignoring the teen's panic attack. Mad about the invasion of privacy, our MC covers his mouth, totally appalled, thinking this weird ability is entirely unacceptable. Still paranoid about getting caught, he carefully peeks around the corner of the wall to see if anyone is tracking him. Way down the main hall, the crowd is still huddled around the knocked out bully who is barely starting to boot back up. Super dizzy, the blonde guy finally manages to sit up on the floor, shaking and completely scrambled from the blackout. Watching from afar, Min bites his nails in pure panic, imagining how his daily routine is about to become an absolute nightmare. He presses himself against the freezing stairwell wall, praying the defeated bully has zero clue who was hiding under that hood. Up there, the problem kid completely loses it and screams at the top of his lungs, demanding the name of the guy who just ruined his rep. Instead of helping, the other students just mock the situation, whispering about the pathetic defeat of the school tyrant. Dying of embarrassment from all the gossip, the try-hard suffers because he cannot even remember his attacker's face since the ambush was so fast. The only blurry screenshot left in his brain is the exact second a hooded dude grabbed his clothes super violently. Despite the embarrassing KO, the punk squints, his eyes full of rage, knowing he will never forget the terrifying energy of that mystery fighter. Rewinding the attack, the bully realizes the mystery guy smelled heavily of milk. Consumed by rage, he shoves past the other students in the hall, trying to hunt down the culprit at all costs. Wasting no time, the punk kicks open one of the classroom doors like a total psycho. He scans the empty room and spots that there is literally only one person chilling in there. Our MC is sitting totally relaxed at his desk reading a book like nothing even happened. Staring the kid down, the attacker grinds his teeth full of hate. Out of nowhere, he kicks Min's desk super hard and accuses the boy of smelling like milk down the entire hallway. Playing the victim card perfectly, the untouchable teen just lowers his head and apologizes for bothering him. Analyzing the situation, the blonde guy immediately drops the suspicion, thinking there is zero chance a pathetic loser like this could ever drop him. The punk remembers the other students laughing, tasting the bitter reality of getting publicly dunked on. Furious about the cowardice of the sneak attack, he promises himself he is going to find the guy no matter what it takes. Taking out his own frustration, the tryhard grabs Min's hair super aggressively. Suddenly, teacher Ha-san pops up at the door, completely surprised by what is going down. With that, the woman snaps the toxic guy's attention immediately to shut down the drama. Soon after, the vibe switches as time skips, showing the chill outside view of the school. As the school day wraps up, tons of students start heading out, walking across the exit courtyard. A group of girls walks by gossiping about the hooded guy, totally convinced he has to be from their school. The visual of the mystery vigilant rocking a hoodie on his head is now seen as top tier drip by everyone. Eavesdropping from a distance, teacher Ha-san is amazed, remembering how precise the fighter actually was. Totally mesmerized, she blushes and admits to herself that her savior was absolutely incredible. Meanwhile, Min is speed walking looking super stressed, just wanting to vanish from the map. But his escape plan crashes when the woman suddenly yells out, grabbing his attention. She jogs over and asks if the kid doesn't recognize her from somewhere. Trying to play dumb, our MC just says she is the new staff member who just transferred in. The young woman leans in curious, clarifying that she meant they actually met a long time ago. Super hyped, she points at a sticker on his backpack and recognizes the logo from her late dad's old gym. The student confirms he used to go there, promising he was going to peel it off anyway since he had zero reasons to ever go back. Then he questions why a pro division athlete randomly spawned in as a high school teacher. Giving an awkward laugh, Hassan scratches her head and makes up an excuse about just wanting to try a new side quest in life. A quick moment of awkward silence drops between them right in the middle of the street. Changing the subject, the woman turns the charm and holds out her hand, hoping they can be cool from now on. Being super polite, the boy shakes his old training partner's hand and gives a slight bow. With no real way out, the two start walking home on the exact same road. Sighing, the teacher mentions that the teenagers here definitely have a lot of personality. She puts a hand to her forehead, looking totally drained, but then loops right back to the topic living rent, free in her head. Flashbacks of the clean attack flood her mind, leaving the fighter amazed by those pro-level moves. If the old master were still around, she is 100% sure he would lose his mind and call that student a massive prodigy. The young woman thinks it is wild that a dumpster fire school is hiding someone with such cracked skills. Hyping up the mystery vigilante's aura, Hassan decides she is going to track him down no matter what. The walk stays chill through the empty neighborhood streets. Right nearby, Dorian's ghost is floating next to our MC, hyping up his own daughter's brain power. Annoyed by the unwanted tag-along, the kid asks why the entity doesn't just go haunt his family instead of him. Glowing with that heavy blue light, the master points his finger, reminding him that the student is literally the only one who can see him here. Getting right in the boy's face, the spirit hypes up the epic teamwork they pulled off earlier. The kid just thinks there was zero teamwork, seeing as the ghost literally hijacked his body by force. Trying to clear his name, the old champ points out that he protected his daughter, while the kid got to embarrass his bully, pitching an official collab. Surrounded by intense energy and literal flames, the spirit offers to lend him world-class skills in exchange for renting his body. Totally offended by the crazy offer, Min snaps back that he is not some air beam to be used like that. At that exact second, sketchy footsteps rush up behind the student. The blonde bully rolls up with his whole squad, calling the kid out for muttering to himself like a total weirdo. Caught off guard in the street, our MC stutters, dying of fear from the random ambush. Holding up the left, behind Hoodie, the punk announces he found a massive clue about the guy who jumped him in the hall. The flashback shows the attacker tearing the school apart, totally obsessed with finding his target. He calculated the mystery guy's escape routes, wondering where someone would sprint off to that fast. Knowing the school is always under construction, the guy figured anyone could use the windows to bail. The try-hard checked the outside scaffolding looking for any breadcrumbs left behind. During this hardcore search, he noticed their own classroom's window was the only one left open. Giving Min a death glare, the blonde guy demands to know if the kid really saw absolutely nothing. Sweating bullets and panicking, the untouchable teen completely freezes up when interrogated about being in the room. Mentally screaming that he is busted, the student gulps and tries to deny seeing anything at all. Losing his mind, the punk grabs the kid by the collar and tells him to stop stuttering, doubting he was actually the attacker. Before things go south, the teacher jumps into the chat, catching the try-hard entirely off guard. She steps right between them with a serious look, asking why they haven't gone home yet, which startles the guy. Backing up a bit, the problem kid groans, annoyed that he has to deal with the nosy staff member again. Using the distraction, Hassan whispers to Min, asking if he remembers exactly where their old gym is. Keeping her voice low, the woman tells the teen to sprint there as fast as humanly possible the second she gives the signal. Completely stunned by the messy plan, the student just nods on autopilot. A few seconds later, his brain finally buffers and he panics, realizing what the teacher is about to pull. On the flip side, the blonde guy cracks his knuckles, radiating dark energy, and ready to throw hands right there. Screaming at the top of her lungs, the fighter's eyes go wide as she tells the boy to run right now. The two of them blast down the street at insane speed to escape the furious squad. The boiling with rage watching the duo bolt, the attacker points his finger and orders his goons to catch them no matter what. A chaotic chase breaks out in the middle of the block, with the pack of thugs sprinting after their targets. Our MC runs for his life side by side with his new teacher, just trying to survive. Pure chaos takes over the neighborhood while the marathon keeps going with no end in sight. The wild chase continues as the two of them sprint up the building's stairs as fast as they can. Right behind them, the pack of thugs stumps up the steps, showing absolutely zero signs of quitting. Going total brute force, the squad busts through the door to the upper floor hunting for their targets. The bully tries to catch his breath while scanning the room with absolute rage in his eyes. Then they realize they are standing inside a martial arts gym, where the teacher is just chilling, waiting for them. Completely freaked out by the setup, Min stammers, wanting to know what this place even is. Stretching her arms, Hassan mentions she told him she was doing other stuff now, but clarifies she never said she quit training. The student just watches the gang corner them both, getting a terrible feeling that things are about to get way worse. Tying her hair up so it is out of the way, the woman shifts her stance and announces that this is no longer a street fight. Looking the punks dead in the eye, she makes it crystal clear that this situation is now strictly a sparring session. Ready for action, the fighter steps onto the mat and drops her #1 rule. Dropping into a combat stance, the teacher demands they finally understand that this is a sport. Floating behind our MC, Dorian's ghost laughs, thinking his daughter's idea to drag the attackers here is absolute genius. Loving the setup, the gang leader cracks his neck and accepts the woman's terms. The punk flashes a toxic smile, totally hyped about the chance to legally beat up a teacher. Zero time, the entire squad rushes Hassan all at once. Ducking insanely fast, the fighter grabs the blonde bully's ankle with flawless precision. With that perfect move, she drops the squad leader onto the mat without even breaking a sweat. Using the opening, the woman rolls across the floor, pulling off a high-level technique to keep the combo going. Keeping her flow absolutely smooth, she already has the legs of another goon who tried to push up. Adjusting her grip instantly, the teacher locks in a brutal ankle hold on the guy. Unable to defend himself, the dude screams in pain as he gets completely submitted on the floor. Right after that, another thug tries to pull a cheap shot on the fighter from behind, but she casually dodges the sneak attack and already has the enemy's arm locked in mid-air. Using the guy's own momentum, she slams him straight into the ground with massive force. Keeping up the crazy pace, the athlete keeps rolling across the mat looking incredibly technical. Right then, she hits a complex transition and manages to take the back of yet another gang member. Another attacker rushes her, in pure panic after seeing his buddies get wiped out. Staying completely chill, the teacher chokes out the guy she already caught and casually dodges the new attack. The pressure from the lock is insane and sleeps the opponent in a matter of seconds. Seeing his crew flattened, the last attacker tries to keep his stance to throw a hit. Moving fast, the fighter kicks out his support leg while cleanly blocking the other one. The slam drops the punk flat on his back on the mat, instantly shutting down his attempt to fight. Sweating heavily after the wild 1v5, the teacher takes a deep breath to recover her stamina. Watching everything, Cheo-min notices the proud spirit pointing out that she wiped the squad using literally only Jiu-Jitsu. RMC is mind blown by his old training partner's ability to solo that many opponents. Outside the gym, the groans of the defeated squad echo down the entire street. Inside one of the back rooms, an instructor wakes up from a nap totally annoyed by all the noise. Scratching his head, the guy tries to figure out why there is a literal war zone in his workplace. Suddenly, the door flies open and he gets the jump scare of his life seeing the aftermath. The freaked out, the instructor rudely demands to know who the woman is that just crashed his spot. But then he recognizes her and is left completely clueless about what is happening on his own mats. Holding the gang leader by the collar, San greets the guy and introduces him to her brand new students. Traumatized by the beatdown, the gym owner begs for mercy, swearing the kids won't start any more drama. Laughing to break the ice, the fighter agrees and lets the bruised kid go. Super casually, she asks if the crew wants to grab a bite to eat after their workout. The gym instructor is left totally stunned by her massive mood swing. A little bit later, the whole squad ends up chilling in front of a low-key local diner. Sitting at the table, the teacher and our MC share a meal with the exact same goons who just tried to jump them. With her mouth full, the woman cheerfully points out that sports really do bring people together. But the punks are literally frozen in their chairs, completely terrified by the new educator's brute strength. Shaking with fear, the boys grab their cups, acting insanely submissive. Raising her drink, Hassan calls for a toast, wanting everyone to be cool from here on out. With zero option to say no, the defeated guys clink their glasses, accepting the forced peace treaty. Later that evening, the group says their goodbyes on the street after the most awkward dinner ever for the gang. The fighter waves with a massive smile at the thugs, who walk away with their pride completely shattered. Turning to the student, she flexes that she thinks the kids actually loved her class. With a massive sweat drop, Cheo-min just wonders in what parallel universe that would actually be true. Silence takes over the empty road as the duo also gets ready to head home. Up ahead, the gang leader stumps away furious about the humiliation and tells his goons to shut up, claiming he has a new strategy brewing. One of the goons steps up, wanting to know what their next move is against the staff member. The blonde try-hard flashes a dark look, making it crystal clear that this rivalry is far from over. Far away from them, the duo of former gym students walks chill down the road toward their houses. Min tries to warn his older friend, telling her not to get her hopes up about the problem class. He then asks if she even knows the real lore behind why the school has such a specific name. The teen explains that the school was founded by a foreign missionary who was super invested in fixing juvenile delinquency. The nice guy's original concept was to put all the troublemakers in one building and try to patch them up with kindness. The massive issue is that the daily routine got so unhinged that even the holy man gave up and bolted from the country in pure panic. Processing the massive fail, Hassan thinks the old principal was weak and went way too far by just running away. Clenching her fists with determination, the teacher promises she will never abandon her students no matter what hits the fan. Acting totally sarcastic, the kid pretends to hype up her heroic choice, but hints that she better start bracing for the worst. Walking again, he drops the reality check that starting tomorrow, The gang's payback is going to be way more toxic. Shocked by the kid's cold take, she repeats the word, confused about getting targeted again. But her athlete instincts kick in and the woman smirks confidently, literally daring the students to test their luck. Finally takes over the lit-up city, wrapping up the new teacher's massively exhausting first day on the job. Solo chill, Min finally makes it to his apartment hallway late at night. Out of nowhere, the boys' footsteps stop dead in their tracks. With wide eyes, the student realizes a massive detail that he completely forgot about. He realizes the punks would never just let the humiliation slide, finding the entire squad camping right outside his door next to his mom. Rocking a toxic smile, the blonde leader makes it clear he is never giving up until he proves he is better than our MC. The kid's mom notices him in the hall and looks at him with a super sweet expression. Shaking with nerves, the teen just mutters the woman's name, completely traumatized by the setup. Using sign language, she happily lets him know that his friends came over to hang out. Right then, the try-hard gets in the kid's ear and aggressively asks why he didn't mention his mom had a disability. Our MC grinds his teeth full of rage, but literally cannot bring himself to do anything against the bully. Whispering again, the blonde guy claims this is payback for him running away with the teacher earlier and demands to go inside to see what good stuff they have. Totally missing the red flags, the woman signs again, inviting the whole squad to stay for dinner. Pretending to be a top-tier friend, the punk wraps an arm around Cheel, Min's neck and accepts, saying they are absolutely starving. The kid desperately tries to jump in, wanting to explain to his mom that this is definitely not what it looks like. Cutting him off, the bully flashes a dangerous smile and tells him to go inside quietly before the woman ends up paying the price too. Feeling the heavy threat, the student starts sweating bullets, totally boxed in. He clenches his fists as hard as he can, dying to just deck the coward right in the face. His legs start shaking out of control in the middle of the hallway. The kid realizes in pure panic that his own body is refusing to move because of the insane amount of fear he is feeling. Right behind him, the Jitsu Master's ghost glares at the attacker, totally disgusted by the brat's disrespectful vibe. Completely oblivious to the danger, the mom just stands by the door waiting for the boys to walk in. The bully forces a laugh, joking that his buddy is just super shy and emotional about them visiting. Buying the lie, the woman smiles warmly, thinking the whole thing is wholesome. Looking at our MC's mom, the punk feels completely grossed out and mentally curses her for smiling like that. He goes back to roasting Cheel Min, making fun of the woman's condition and saying he looks at the kid in a way worse light now. Wasting zero time, the blonde guy violently yanks the student by his clothes to force their way into the house. Out of absolutely nowhere, a massive dude spawns in and lands a devastating dropkick straight into the attacker's chest. Off the crazy impact, the try-hard goes flying and skids across the hallway floor. The kid's mom covers her face, completely shocked by the chaos that just erupted. The rest of the squad freezes up, unable to buffer the fact that their leader just got flattened. Standing like an absolute tank, the man glares at the downed punk and admits he is totally done dealing with this kind of disrespect. The kid's stepdad drops a dark threat, saying that if he still had his old temper, he would have snapped the guy's ankles in half. Scraping his pride off the floor, the bully thinks the old guy is just hyping himself up and gets up furious. Zero survival instincts, he charges in, swearing to show him what happens to boomers who get cocky just because they train a little. With terrifying ease, the older man palms the attacker's face mid-swing and instantly cancels his whole move. The blonde guy is lifted off the floor like it is nothing, getting absolutely terrified by the opponent's monster tier strength. Super ticked off, the stepdad demands to know who the idiot is starting drama right at his front door. The other goons finally notice the massive dragon tattoos covering the man's neck and chest. The second he is dropped in the hall, the punk backs up in panic, realizing he just messed with the wrong family. In pure survival mode, the rest of the squad turns around and bolts so they don't get folded too. In a matter of seconds, the hallway is completely ghosted thanks to the teen's cowardly retreat. Dead silence takes over the spot, leaving just the kid, his mom, and the stepdad who is holding some grocery bags. Looking super strict, the tattooed man turns his head and stares his stepson down from top to bottom. The untouchable teen just drops his head submissively, already bracing for another brutal lecture. The vibe gets incredibly heavy while the adult keeps a locked, judging stare on the teen. Breaking the ice, the stepdad sighs and asks the woman to hurry up with the food, because he is starving. The mom steps up to the open door and signs for her son to get inside quick so they can eat. But then the door clicks shut and the kid is left completely alone in the hall staring at his own front door. Eaten alive by frustration, he throws a max power punch right into the concrete wall. The student rests his head against the wall, feeling deep hatred for his own weakness. Floating nearby, the Master Ghost apologizes for not jumping in, explaining he tried to ignore the drama until the very last second. Having a total breakdown, the teen screams at the top of his lungs that he is an absolute failure. The blue entity gets startled by the teen's explosive reaction. Tears streaming down his face, Min cries about doing literally nothing even while watching his mom get disrespected right to his face. He cries facing the wall, disgusted that he just stood there shaking with fear and taking the disrespect like a total coward. The kid explains that even though his mom has hearing and speech issues, her situational awareness is actually top tier. It is obvious to him that the woman completely read the toxic vibe, but just played dumb to stop things from getting worse. Crushed by the guilt, the boy drops to his knees on the floor while the spirit watches him, feeling bad for the kid. The tears keep falling, unlocking a flashback of when he first joined the old martial arts gym. A memory from the past shows young Min having a chill chat with the legendary coach while he was still alive. In the flashback, the Grand Champ gives a confident laugh and promises to turn the shy teen into a literal human weapon. Snapping back to now, the boy looks up full of pure drive and demands the old coach keep his promise right this second. The spirit looks super confused by the random request. Right after, our MC declares he doesn't care anymore, and gives the master full clearance to use his body however he wants, even if it pushes him to the absolute breaking point. Min stares the phantom down and begs to be forged into an unstoppable fighter. Clapping back, the entity points a finger and asks if the kid thinks life is some comic book where things just level up magically. Clenching his fists, the student lowers his head, admitting he literally cannot keep living like such a pathetic loser. Getting serious, the ghost warns that if his only fuel is emotional revenge, he should drop the idea, because he teaches martial arts, not reckless street fighting. The teen goes quiet for a second, making the champ think he doesn't have the guts to handle the grind. Trying to bait him, the kid brings up the rumors about the master's totally sad passing and mocks him, saying the gossip must have been true. The roast deals massive damage to the fighter's ego, making his eyes go wide, completely insulted by the brat's audacity. Without missing a beat, the spirit dives straight into the student's body to hijack the controls. Min's eyes instantly flare up as the blue energy takes over his brain once again. With his arms radiating supernatural power, the teen tries to brace himself while the possession forces his muscles to move. In a snappy move, the kid's body drops into a rock, solid, technical combat stance right in the hall, officially kicking off his real training. Freaked out by the spirit's sudden hijack, Min grabs his face totally shook. Boiling with rage from the roast, Dorian yells about the overdose rumor, swearing he always hated that kind of garbage. The master explains he was totally framed by some scumbag who fabricated the whole lie to tank his reputation. Running back the tape, he says he just went out to grab a popsicle when some random punks tried to test him in the street. In the memory, the champ is shown sitting on the flattened goons in the rain, flexing that he taught them a lesson without even trying hard. But the ghost drops the lore that the group's leader was super salty about taking the L and decided to get toxic payback right after. Totally off guard, the fighter got absolutely plowed by a speeding car while he was just eating his ice cream. Sprawled out on the wet road, he admits he blacked out and basically remembers zero details after the hit. His only breadcrumb is a blurry mental screenshot of a green car speeding off with a dented license plate. Plus, the face of the purple-haired attacker named Chon got permanently burned into the late master's memory. Back to now, the entity declares with max determination that he has to hunt down the guy responsible for framing him. Listening to the tragic backstory, our MC stays quiet, buffering the crazy info drop. The kid looks up, looking like he just cooked up a big brain strat to fix the issue. He pitches a straight-up trade, offering to help clear the fighter's name since he got totally scammed at the end. To lock in the deal, the student offers to rent out his body for the investigation in exchange for private martial arts lessons. Sighing, the Phantom asks if the kid thinks learning to fight is as fast as microwaving instant noodles. But then the old champ switches his tone, hinting there is one loophole. Flashing a super cocky smile, he swears the game totally changes when it comes to his personal training method. The spirit then asks if the teen is actually built for this, warning him that his VIP training is going to be absolute torture. Without lagging for a second, Min nods, proving he is completely locked in on the goal. Hyped by the kid's drive, the ghost smirks, officially accepting the weird duo collab. Sealing the spooky contract, the two fist bump, radiating a massive wave of blue energy. The next morning, the sun lights up the front of the dumpster fire school, kicking off another chaotic day. Teacher Hassan swings the classroom door open full of energy, wishing her squad a good morning. As soon as she lets go of the handle, she realizes someone's sticky gum on the lock as a prank. Checking the vibe, the woman just laughs it off, thinking it is a cute, childish little troll move. Keeping the good energy, she walks in and teases the students for being so playful first thing in the morning. But the teacher ends up tripping a thin tripwire strung up near the floor. Instantly, a loaded bucket flips upside down right over the open door. Freezing water splashes all over the woman, ruining her fit and instantly nuking her patience. Trying to keep her cool, the fighter forces a laugh and points out that the trap was super basic. Out of nowhere, an eraser packed with chalk dust snipes her right in the face, causing a massive explosion of dirt. Capitalizing on the stun, the squad of punks rushes in with water guns and chucks random garbage, ordering the squad to keep firing. Completely coated in black suit, the educator freezes in place, feeling her sanity fully leave the chat. Deafening scream of pure rage blasts through the school windows, terrifying everyone outside. In the staff room, the other teachers cover their ears, completely spooked by the demonic noise. Staring at his teacher's totally wrecked state, Chio Min whispers asking if she is doing okay. Radiating final boss energy, the dirty woman turns her head looking lethal and asks if the students think this is some kind of joke. Floating next to the kid, the master's ghost tries not to laugh, thinking his own daughter's crash out is hilarious. Losing the last 1% of her chill, the teacher lets out a feral roar of absolute rage. Letting out her frustration, she throws a devastating punch that shatters the classroom chalkboard into a million pieces. RMC and the ghost just stand there completely paralyzed, watching the insane flex of brute force. With a literal death glare, the young woman mutters, wondering what she is supposed to do with this pack of disrespectful brats. Super stressed, the student just reminds her that he literally warned her yesterday to brace for the worst. Unable to process this much disrespect so early, the educator starts screaming at the top of her lungs again in the middle of the mess. Shaking the entire building, the woman lands another brutal hit on the wall, leaving the whole class absolutely terrified. With her eyes glowing red, she warns them they have 10 seconds to figure out the best way to fix this mess. Sweating cold, the untouchable teen feels an insane amount of bloodlust coming from her, exactly like a pro athlete right before a match. Amidst the panic, the kid's attention randomly snaps to a flyer pinned to the totally wrecked bulletin board. His eyes go wide as he reads the paper, looking like he just found the ultimate cheat code. The picture shows an old recruiting poster for the school's ukulele club. Flashing back to a chat, the teacher pops up looking bummed out that there are no fun clubs left at school. Min also remembers the exact moment she claimed that street fights would now just be sparring sessions under her watch. Connecting the dots, our MC quickly realizes they can fix this whole mess by starting an officially sanctioned fight club. Hearing the massive brainplay, the educator's dark face completely flips, showing she is totally on board with the kid's pitch. A bit later, the camera cuts straight to the door of the principal's office. The old principal is holding a sketchy hand-drawn poster recruiting students for a brand new Jiu-Jitsu club. Super hyped, the fighter swears she is going to use the program to buff the teens' fitness and fix their toxic behavior. Super sus about the whole pitch, the older guy asks if it is actually possible to tame that pack of rebels just by making them work out. Chilling on the couch, the vice principal points out the massive red flag of teaching literal combat skills to kids who already love starting drama. Defending her pitch like crazy, the young woman explains that the sport lets you neutralize enemies without causing massive damage, making it the safest strat. Not budging, the woman with glasses claps back, saying that regardless of injuries, it is literally still fighting. Trying to play peacekeeper, the principal scratches his head, searching for a polite way to reject the application. Out of nowhere, a massive crash interrupts the chat as a student gets launched right into the office window, shattering the glass. The school executives jump off the couch, completely shook by the random spawn. Through the busted window, a punk is seen trash, talking the downed victim, and threatening anyone who is watching. Absolute chaos takes over the courtyard, with tons of students just freely throwing hands like it is a normal Tuesday. The adult group just freezes, watching the insane level of toxicity that has taken over the campus. Terrified by the reality of his own school, the principal instantly changes his mind and orders the teacher to launch the program right this second. Catching the massive W, the fighter clenches her fists and accepts the quest with total confidence. Later that same day, the scene shifts to the front of the school's main auditorium. Sitting on a bench in the massive, empty gym, our MC patiently waits in the middle of the court. Chill footsteps echo across the wooden floor, catching the isolated kid's attention. The student looks up, pretty shocked by the character who just spawned in. Rocking an epic black guy and flexing her black belt, the teacher drops an intimidating smile and asks if he is ready to farm some new members. Answering the call, the untouchable student grumbles that he literally never agreed to join this club, but the teacher tells him to stop crying and just follow her. The reason for the complaining becomes obvious when the camera pans to a badly drawn poster taped to the desk announcing the new Jew. Jiu-Jitsu Club's recruitment. The school courtyard is completely dead with a heavy breeze blowing while the duo camps for new members. Min asks if she actually thinks anyone is going to spawn, reminding her that the students here barely even show up for normal classes. The educator drops an exhausted look and claps back that they have literally only been waiting for 4 hours, telling the kid to chill. Suddenly, the dead silence is broken by the sound of heavy breathing and rapid footsteps cutting through the wind. The duo snaps their heads around instantly, totally shook by who just pulled up to the spot. A student wearing a bizarre fit, a ninja mask and a kendo chest guard, stops right in front of the recruiting desk, radiating pure confidence. Without dropping a single word, the guy firmly plants his hands on the edge of their table. Using the momentum, he hits a crazy acrobatic jump and spins in the air in a totally extra way. The landing hits the floor hard, kicking up a dust cloud like some kind of epic boss entrance. Scanning the scene, the fighter points out the kid doesn't even know how to take a fall properly, while our MC realizes exactly who this is. Min IDs the masked guy by his nickname, Samurai Park. The teen explains that the guy is Korean-Japanese and claims to have maxed out multiple martial arts, completely solo, from capoeira to karate. Kneeling on the ground in a super dramatic pose, the student flexes his ego, while our MC finishes listing that he also learned Jeet Kune Do by himself. The teacher looks totally lost and repeats the phrase about the kid training everything completely solo. Keeping a straight face, our MC just nods, confirming the lore. The masked kid glares super intensely and adds that he learned everything exclusively by grinding the internet. The student's real name, Park Min Jae, pops up, totally ruining the edgy final boss vibe he was trying to build. Still buffering the absurd situation, Hassan wonders how anyone becomes a fighter just by binging online videos. She realizes in pure shock that she is looking at one of those legendary basement dwellers that only exist on internet forums. While the guy gets up and dusts off his fit, the educator wonders why he is wearing kendo gear to practice unarmed combat. Jai dusts his hands on his pants with sharp movements, trying to keep his ruthless master persona active. With a look, he officially announces he is joining the Jiu-Jitsu squad. Watching the newbie, the fighter just sighs internally that even the way the kid talks is super cringe. Trying to be nice, she asks if he has ever actually trained IRL, pointing out that his landing earlier was super clunky. The masked guy puts his hands together and fires back that he has zero interest in coward strats, since he trained his body to be made of iron so he never feels pain when falling. But with zero patience for the cap, Min quickly roasts him, pointing out that the guy crumpled like a dry leaf on that last jump. Ready to carry this team, the teacher figures she is going to have to teach the basics from literal square one to a guy who thinks the core mechanics of the sport are just a gimmick. Super confident about her new quest, she gently holds out her hand to the weird student. Making it official, Hassan welcomes the newest member to the chaotic Jiu-Jitsu Club. Ji takes the handshake, locking in his spot in the weirdest squad ever. The scene quickly cuts to the inside of the school's massive gym, now fully prepped for the club's grind. Already set up in the middle of the court, the educator announces the start of the first lesson and pitches that they kick things off with a fun little mini-game. Our MC repeats the word looking totally lost, while the masked guy seems super hyped about the idea. The fighter drops the simple rules: whoever gets the most takedowns gets the W, and the loser has to grant the winner one wish. With a focused stare, she adds that they can use absolutely any strat necessary to secure the win. Ready for the boss fight, the masked student agrees, looking dead serious. In his head, Minji thinks this is the perfect chance to flex his martial arts stats, even though he thinks fighting a girl is not that big of a deal. Taking the game way too seriously, the guy bends his knees and channels all his energy to drop his center of gravity, thinking he is basically a brick wall. Looking at that goofy pose, Min feels massive secondhand embarrassment and just stands there completely blank. Sneaking up, the teacher's hand taps the self-proclaimed master's shoulder before he even realizes it. With one clean, lightning-fast move, the woman hits a sweep that drops the newbie straight onto the wooden floor. Totally hyped about landing the move, she points forward and calls out the first point on the scoreboard. Flat on the floor, Min Jae yells out super salty, calling it a cheap shot and complaining that he got jumped while he was still buffering. Barely finishing his rant, the masked guy feels the opponent's hand tap his shoulder again. The teacher casually points out that a real enemy is never going to wait for him to finish loading into the fight. Capitalizing on his lag, she grabs the kid's clothes and hits an epic throw right over her own shoulder. With zero chance to block it, Min Ji gets launched through the air, completely losing control of his own character. The second he hits the deck, the fighter reminds him that he was the one who agreed that all strats were valid for the mini-game. Mega frustrated by getting clowned on, the kid announces he is now going to spam every martial art he has ever mastered. The boy claps his hands together in a technical pose, getting ready to lock in on the match. Squared up, the newbie tries to radiate that same edgy boss aura from when he first spawned in. Completely unfazed by the flex, Hassan just sighs and asks what else he learned from scrolling the web. Switching up his meta, Min Jai decides to put all his points into speed instead of trying to tank. The student starts zooming around the mat, faking some super fast footwork. But the second he charges in, the educator just sidesteps and drops him with a basic trip. The guy gets up super salty, but the woman just snags his arm and chains another flawless takedown instantly. The skill gap is massive as the teacher literally plays with her food, casually dropping the student all over the gym. With absolute map control, she hits a flawless hip throw, tossing the kid without spending any stamina. Capping off the wipeout in style, the woman hits a god tier sweep that launches her opponent straight into orbit. During the forced flight, the ninja mask slips right off the guy's face because of the brutal impact of the fall. With his face finally leaked, Min Jai is shown sweating bullets and gasping for air like crazy. The student crashes on his back in the middle of the court with his arms spread out, totally out of stamina and unable to get up. Crouching next to him, Hassan mentions his score is negative 186 points, finding it wild that he cannot even take a fall properly a single time. The teacher explains that in any combat sport, especially Jiu-Jitsu, a player is going to get dropped hundreds or thousands of times. The defeated kid listens closely as she claims that instead of trying to play as a tank or just spamming attacks, there is one main priority. Looking dead serious, the fighter declares he needs to learn how to fall properly first, which is why breakfalls are the literal foundation of everything. The kid is left absolutely mind-blown, buffering the info drop that just deleted his entire previous mindset. Right then, G reaches pure spiritual enlightenment, finally grasping how deep the advice actually is. Catching feels from the reality check, the self-proclaimed internet fighter is practically holding back tears. Even with zero stamina, the guy drops to his knees, presses his forehead to the floor, and accepts the lesson, officially calling the educator his master. Caught off guard by the dramatic worship, the woman gives an awkward laugh, wondering if she really leveled up to master status that fast. Getting back to business, she calls GG's on the takedown game, totally satisfied with the lesson she just handed out. Right after, the teacher's firm hand reaches out to touch the kid, ready to boot up the actual physical training. To start the game, Min tags the down newbie's head. Teacher Hassan is totally shocked by her own student's bold move. Wasting zero time, our MC points out she lost her buff and that he just claimed first place. Annoyed by the disrespect, the fighter complains that the kid totally just snipe. Using her own logic against her, the teen reminds her that the enemy is not going to wait around and demands his winner's wish. Right then, a shout echoes across the gym, telling everyone to shut up because of the noise. The educator turns her head and spots another player in the lobby. The squad is completely stunned to realize there was some guy literally sleeping up in the bleachers. Woken up by the chaos, the student named Chu Gang Han sits up and glares down at the group. Recognizing who is on the court, Gang Hen greets our MC, saying it has been a minute since they saw each other. Intimidated by the whole vibe, the untouchable teen stutters, just trying to say hey back. Missing the tension, the woman asks who the new spawn is. Jay steps up to handle it, but the teacher asks why he is hiding behind her back while trying to act tough. Still backing up, Min warns her that this guy is a massive hazard. Our MC explains that Gang Han is straight up the most overpowered freshman in the entire school. Up top, the newbie watches the court drama, looking completely bored. Focusing on the teacher, the kid notices she is wearing a martial arts skin. Suddenly hyped, he figures the squad is running some kind of fun event. Without hesitating, the student jumps straight down from the top bleachers. The landing is heavy, but the teen sticks it flawlessly, taking zero fall damage. Analyzing the insane drop, Hassan admits the kid's physical stats are totally cracked. Gang Hen walks up asking if they are doing judo, and the woman clarifies they are rolling in Jiu-Jitsu. Capitalizing on his interest, she instantly drops an official invite for him to join the club. Acting completely toxic, the teen mentions he has heard of this crawling sport, claiming he could get an easy W just by kicking people. The fighter lets out a dry laugh at the low-tier trash talk. Dropping a threat, the student warns that a lot of people have gotten wrecked for crossing him. The educator holds eye contact head on, not showing a single drop of fear. The kid notices her rock-solid vibe and realizes this woman does not get intimidated easily. In her own head, the teacher figures that totally dominating the alpha student is the perfect strat to bring order to the whole server. Holding her ground, she reminds him that training requires a duo and repeats the invite. Gang Han rejects the pitch instantly, making it obvious he has zero interest in learning from low levels. Silently accepting the 1v1, the teacher radiates pure confidence, staring the kid down. Zero time, she tosses her own jacket to get better mobility on the mat. Fixing her black belt, the woman offers a friendly spar between the two of them right on the spot. Pointing her finger, Sound sets the stakes. He becomes club president if he scores 1 point, but he has to mop the entire gym if he takes the L. The challenge completely baits the student's ego, and he looks super hyped for the fight. Tossing his neck pillow on the ground, the student accepts the duel, agreeing to play by her game's rules. The fighter tells our MC to play ref, getting a super hesitant nod from the kid. Dropping into her starting stance, the woman holds out her hand, explaining the standard handshake etiquette for the sport. The two fighters step up to initiate the physical clash. The mutual respect is locked in with a quick fist bump. Standing in the middle of the court, Cheolmin checks if both players are actually ready to go. With a wave of his arm, the makeshift ref officially starts the match. Han rushes in with a wildly aggressive opening attack. Trying to speedrun the W, he throws a direct strike that the teacher casually dodges with crazy smooth movement. Grabbing the opponent's arm, the educator recognizes the classic judo grip and confirms the kid actually has legit experience. Deciding to test the newbie's stats, she tweaks her stance to gauge his standing combat level. Using his own charge against him, the woman hits a super clean shoulder throw. But the student reacts with perfect timing, spinning his body mid-air during the fall. Flexing absolute control, the guy lands right on his feet without taking the takedown. The teacher is genuinely surprised by the kid's core strength, admitting that is literally pro-tier movement. From afar, the master's ghost confirms the brat is a legit judoka. Our MC explains that his classmate actually competed in judo officially up until middle school. A flashback shows the kid rolling in high-level matches, proving his massive XP in national tournaments. Back in the current match, Gang Hen spots an opening and grabs the fighter from behind. He instantly sets his legs to lock in the stability for his next combo. Using flawless leverage, the teen launches his opponent using his leg strength. The woman gets thrown hard straight toward the gym floor. But the guy notices the impact wasn't what he expected, wondering if she actually read his throw. Super proud, Dorian narrates that he always made his daughter cross, train in other metas to master the standing game before she ever touched the ground. A quick flashback shows the young athlete trading heavy hits in past tournaments. Landing safely on the court, Hassan proves she can handle getting thrown without panicking at all. Both players keep their distance, taking deep breaths while they read the situation. Respecting the kid's standing game, the educator decides it is time to drag him into her actual domain on the ground. Striking fast, the woman grabs the enemy's jacket and throws herself backward, dragging him down with her. The student totally loses his balance, completely scrambled by her sacrifice strat. On the sidelines, our MC starts dropping the lore on the sport's rules while Jay jumps from the aggressive tech. The untouchable teen breaks down that in Jiu-Jitsu, a player can attack and defend just as well on the ground as they do standing up. He keeps explaining that the player on top has to break the defense to score points in the match. Meanwhile, the player on the bottom gets an advantage if they sweep the enemy and flip the control. Plus, Cheolmin reminds him that anyone can instantly end the match by forcing a direct submission. The masked newbie listens to all of this looking exhausted, thinking the massive info dump is way too much for right now. Getting back to the action on the mat, the fighter's leg hooks tightly around the opponent's thigh. With razor-sharp tech, the woman locks in a complex guard to totally paralyze the teen's movement. The leg pressure cranks up, leaving the student completely trapped in the teacher's domain. Trying to break out, the judoka deadlifts the teacher off the ground, doing everything to snap her control. Using his momentum, the educator hooks her leg on the enemy and drops him right back to the mat. With a god-tier transition, the woman spins on the floor and flawlessly takes the students back. Playing ref, our MC raises his hand and calls 4 points for her. Stuck on the floor, the teen is totally confused and demands to know why she randomly got points. The untouchable teen patiently explains that Jiu-Jitsu has a completely different rule set than other games. He breaks down that passing the guard and securing side control drops a free 3 points. Right after, the kid notes that getting full mount on the enemy's chest grants another 4 points. Wrapping up the tutorial, the makeshift ref points out that securing back control also maxes out the score. Keeping the heavy pressure on his back, the teacher casually asks when he bought his uniform. To rub salt in the wound, she toxically adds that she was just worried she might stretch his clothes during the fight. Right then, the freshman boss's eyes go wide, finally realizing he is in massive danger. With zero mercy, the fighter yanks the collar of his gi as hard as she can and locks in a brutal chokehold on the enemy. Though with the submission perfectly sunk in, the woman tells the kid to just tap out before his system forcefully shuts down. Being insanely stubborn, the judoka grinds his teeth trying to tank the tight hold, refusing to take the L. Unable to get any air, the guy's vision slowly starts blacking out from the ridiculous pressure on his neck. The The gym ceiling starts blurring out as his HP totally empties, and he can't fight back anymore. A flashback forces its way into the teen's mind, showing him looking super bummed while holding a controller. In the memory, the kid's dad is drinking and drops some heavy advice, telling him to never bully low levels. Finishing his drink, the older man declares that if his son wants to throw hands, he should always pick a higher level boss to fight. Wrapping up the life lesson, the dad pats the little kid's head while he just listens in total silence. Snapping back to the present, the teen wakes up with a jump scare after getting slapped hard across the face. The student opens his eyes totally scrambled, finding the teacher staring down at him. Super confident, the woman calls GG's on the match and officially claims her win by submission. Cashing in on her bet from earlier, the educator hands the defeated kid a mop so he can clean the court like they agreed. Still buffering the humiliating wipeout, the guy just grips the mop handle staring at the floor without dropping a single word. Eaten alive by frustration, the kid chucks the item onto the court with massive rage. He looks up furious and asks if the fighter is happy she won by abusing rules that totally carried her. Caught off guard by the massive cope, the woman just reminds him that he literally agreed to the terms himself. Instantly, the teen freezes up, realizing he just completely embarrassed himself with that totally baseless rant. The teacher keeps staring down the rebel student, patiently waiting to see what his next move is going to be. Out of nowhere, the guy's face starts showing damage from getting pushed past his limits in the heavy match he just lost. Panicking, the judoka throws his hand over his face, desperately trying to hide the injury. Worried about the kid's HP, the educator taps his shoulder and suggests they go straight to the school nurse. Completely humiliated by the L, the student books it and sprints full speed off the court. During his chaotic escape, the teen throws his G-top on the floor, complaining that his fit got all dirty. The woman watches the kid's frantic exit, realizing he definitely felt the heavy consequences. In her head, she gives props to the enemy's insane endurance, noting he literally chose to pass out instead of tapping. Turning to her other two students, the teacher celebrates a successful day one, completely ignoring our MC, who is still denying he is in the club. A bit later, the massive doors of the gym fly open out of nowhere. The fighter turns her head with a confident smirk, looking like she already knows exactly who just loaded into the zone. Radiating his classic blue aura, the master's ghost hypes up his own daughter's strict vibe with the newbies. The old champ praises our MC's big brain strat, but the kid defends himself, saying his idea to make a club got way out of hand. Analyzing the massive W, the entity loves the move, pointing out that this is literally exactly how the sport blew up back in the day. Flipping into coach mode, the spirit summons the kid for his first VIP lesson, while the boy just sighs, already totally drained. Wasting zero time, the phantom stares the student down, demanding instant discipline, and asks what the literal first step of any workout is. Trying to keep up with the sweaty pace, the untouchable teen nervously guesses they should start with warm-up drills. The old master drops a terrifying smile confirming the answer, leaving the teen absolutely dreading what is about to happen. In the blink of an eye, the phantom dives in and hijacks our MC's body without even asking. The student's body takes a wild hit while his eyes change, proving the forced account sharing is active. Being puppeted by the spirit, the kid talks like an NPC to the teacher, claiming he is going to solo clean the entire gym because he is just that hyped about the sport. Trapped in his own brain, the kid goes into absolute panic hearing that crazy promise drop from his own mouth. Totally charmed by the fake grind set, the educator hypes the student up and hands him the mop with a massive smile. Pulling a completely unhinged move, the entity snaps the broom handle, keeping just the bottom part, and states like a robot that he is only going to use the rag. Watching the bizarre scene, the fighter duo is totally shook by the absolute madman strat of cleaning a massive gym that way. The student's body ties the cloth to his own fit, while his actual mind is crying over the totally unnecessary humiliation of doing all this. Instantly, the ghost starts using the kid's back to scrub the floor, spamming the classic hip escape move. At an insane pace, he drags himself across the entire court, writhing on the ground in a never-ending, grueling mobility drill. Keeping up the crazy grind, the entity swaps moves and starts rolling over his shoulders to mop another section of the mat. Gauging his hardcore dedication, the teacher is super confused, wondering since when this quiet kid became such a massive martial arts try-hard. Pushing the chaotic cleaning strat further, the student's body drops into a gorilla stance, dragging the rag all over the court. Inside the host's head, the old coach demands even more hustle, telling the kid to tank it since he was the one begging to get buffed. Nearby, the masked student clenches his fists, literally shaking with emotion while watching his teammates' totally bizarre grind. Reading the room completely wrong, the newbie takes this as a personal challenge of pure willpower to test him. Refusing to get gapped in this invisible 1v1, the guy grabs another broom and starts desperately sweeping the gym, screaming that he refuses to take an L. The educator forces a nervous smile, admitting she is getting a super weird vibe watching these two grind like absolute psychos on the floor. In the middle of all this chaos, the fighter's attention randomly snaps to an item abandoned in a dark corner. The freshman boss's dirty jacket is still sitting on the edge of the mat after his embarrassing rage quit. Trying to be a good NPC, the teacher picks up the gear, figuring she should probably return it to the real owner. While folding the heavy fabric, she spots a brightly colored flyer that slipped out of the pocket and dropped on the floor. Curious about the random drop, the woman checks the paper, trying to figure out what the abandoned ad is all about. The promo is for a literal nightclub, leaving the teacher incredibly suspicious about what kind of zones this teenager is sneaking into. Switching maps, night finally drops over the city, while the defeated judoka walks solo through the packed streets of his neighborhood. Rocking a band-aid on his face, the kid mutters angrily, still mulling over the massive public humiliation he caught at the gym just a few hours ago. Determined to vent his stacked-up frustration, the guy speeds up his walk with a dead, serious look, entirely locked in on his next spawn point. Running back the Chu gang, Han realizes the teacher wasn't even using brute strength during the takedown, figuring out her meta was totally different from anything he knew in judo. The memory of the flawless chokehold hits him again, replaying the exact frame he got tapped out with zero chance to counter. Trying to clear his cache, the judoka decides to bench his bruised ego and just focus on partying, gripping the club flyer. He fixes his fit and lets out a massive sigh to drop the aggro. But a second later, the teen aggressively grips his clothes, still burning inside from getting clowned on so badly in public. Back on the move, his footsteps echo on the sidewalk as he locks onto his destination. Out of nowhere, the kid freezes mid-step and holds his breath, clocking a totally unwanted NPC right in front of him. An older woman points right at him and screams, demanding to know if he is really President Chu's son. Rewinding a bit before this whole mess popped off, the sun was already setting, lighting up the front of the dumpster, fire school. The school grind officially wraps up, with tons of students casually walking through the courtyard heading for the exit. Walking with the teacher, the untouchable student mentions that she and the bully looked like they went way back and asks for the lore. Feeling super nostalgic, the fighter explains they were actually a top-tier duo all through middle school. But she drops the bomb that the guy's whole vibe flipped the second he hit high school. Her old buddy started running exclusively with the most toxic punks in the area, even if he never actually talked trash to her face. This new meta ended up building a massive wall between them, completely deleting the friendship they used to have. Reviewing the kid's stats and history, the teacher locks in that he is definitely not just some basic school mob. Right then, a loud engine rev grabs the woman's attention, making her turn to look. Super hyped, the educator waves at a motorcycle cop rolling by, joking around and calling him a tough guy. Totally ignoring the extra greeting, the man just keeps cruising his patrol route. But then the guard slams the brakes super hard. The cop drifts his back tire on the asphalt, pulling a risky maneuver to flip a U-turn. With insane precision, he parks the heavy bike perfectly next to the educator on the sidewalk. Ripping off his helmet, looking absolutely furious. The guy accuses the woman of disrespecting the law with her trolling. Trolling even harder, the fighter jokes that the uniform gave him a buff, reminding him he used to always catch L's against her on the mat, making the guy demand respect off the court. Flipping her vibe entirely, the teacher drops the jokes, stating she urgently needs to check some lore with her old friend. Cutting back to the dark street, the older lady goes off again, confirming the judoka's ID. The woman pushes in full of rage, demanding an instant update on where the teen's dad is hiding. Dodging eye contact and looking super uncomfy, the kid drops a blunt reply, saying he has zero idea where the guy vanished to. Panicking, the creditor grabs the kid's shirt and demands her money back, warning that they are all going to end up homeless because of that massive scam. Feeling the pressure of the public freakout, the student grinds his teeth, completely draining his last drop of patience. The lady keeps flaming the kid, calling the whole family trash and demanding he, at least fake trying to find the guy. Completely triggered, the teen screams that he already said he knows nothing, defending that the real villain already bailed with all the cash. Right then, the creditor's husband steps up, checking the kid for disrespecting his wife like that. Blinded by rage, the judoka ducks down fast and snags a heavy brick left on the asphalt. Gripping the item tight, the guy switches into a hostile stance, ready to completely crash out on the couple. The creditors back away totally terrified, realizing the student has hit max level aggro. Pointing at their parked luxury car, the punk suggests they just sell the whip if they are hurting for cash that badly. The teen drops a heavy threat, swearing he will completely total the car if they don't back off right now. Reading the danger, the man pulls his wife away so they can dip, complaining about how terribly this toxic kid was raised. The second the couple turns their backs, the freshman boss tries to catch his breath while sweat literally drips down his face. The aggro finally resets and the brick slips from the kid's hand, crashing heavily back onto the sidewalk. Mentally exhausted from the drama, he decides to just head into the old apartment building where he is staying now. His family's mailbox is totally overflowing with past, due bills and final notices. The map gets even worse when he hits his own front door, finding the entrance completely spammed with threat notes left by loan sharks. Consumed by rage, the kid violently rips the papers off in an act of pure frustration. Stepping into the dark, messy apartment, the kid lets his grandma know he finally loaded back in. The kitchen table shows their brutal reality, covered in empty pots and just one bottle of soda in the middle. Looking at the depressing setup, he asks, in a bitter tone, if the old lady skipped a meal again, just to survive on that. The tiny space totally reflects the hardcore survival mode the family has been stuck in since the drama ruined their lives. Right then, the kid's phone dings with a notification, letting him know it is time to boot up his new night shift job. Reading the dress to impress requirement, the student locks in, dead set on making some cash no matter what. Without even taking a breather from his crazy day, the judo kid fixes his shoes, ready to face the night shift grind. The second the guy throws on his security jacket, his grandma's shaky voice echoes out, begging for some attention. The older lady shows up leaning on a cane, totally lost and begging to go home. Feeling a heavy chest, the teen coldly replies that their house is gone, telling her to just go eat something. The apartment door shuts right after, leaving the poor lady alone in her own mental fog. A little while later, the scene cuts to the flashy neon front of the nightclub. The staff-only zone, a mutual buddy introduces the teen to the head of security. The bald boss sizes up the rookie with a tough guy glare, complimenting his build and asking if he's got any brawling experience. His coworker jumps in to hype him up, swearing the kid used to compete in judo and nudging him to show some respect to the new boss. Swallowing all his pride, the freshman leader bows submissively to the head honcho. Soon enough, the shift starts and the dance floor is absolutely packed with clients jumping non-stop. But the piece is short-lived because a massive brawl explodes in one of the VIP booths. The radio clipped to the kid's gear beeps with a direct order to handle the mess at table 5. Acting fast, the student dives into the mosh pit, trying to separate the people who were throwing heavy insults at each other. The situation escalates when a guy brutally yanks a woman's hair during the screaming match. Out of nowhere, the fight turns into a totally bizarre scene when the two brawlers start aggressively making out. Watching that sudden madness, the teen just freezes, trying to process what on earth was happening. Before he can even think, a girl runs by begging to be let go. A massive dude forcefully grabs the staff member, complaining that her attitude is gonna look bad to the bosses of the joint. The girl screams, demanding the other bouncers help, but the crew just stands there watching with their arms crossed. Annoyed by her resisting, the trashy client shoves the woman, threatening to make her pay if she keeps complaining. Not having any of that cowardice, the teen steps up and locks the chubby dude's arm with a precise reflex. Keeping an unshakable posture, the young bouncer suggests everyone just chill out right there. The hero act triggers the guy's fury, who tries to break free while barking about the rookie's audacity. With relentless pressure, the teenage bouncer grips the client's arm tight to stop him from going after the staff girl. Sensing the danger, the coworker pulls the kid aside, reminding him he's underage and absolutely cannot draw attention to himself. The bald coworker explains that the VIP clients literally pay the bills around here, so everyone's gotta kiss their rings. Taking the scolding quietly, Chugang Han gives a serious glare, showing pure disgust at the messed up rule. Taking advantage of the distraction, the abusive client violently yanks his arm back, breaking free from the kid's grip. Furious about the interruption, the guy grabs the bald coworker by the collar, screaming and asking if that rookie employee wants to be humiliated in front of everyone. Right then, a dude with sunglasses and long hair shows up telling everyone to chill, making the coworker apologize instantly once he realizes it's the head VIP. Sizing up the older bouncer's panic, the big shot smirks, easily figuring out that the teen is just a fresh hire. Keeping his cool, the guy reaches out and offers a high-value bill as a tip for the kid. Caught totally off guard, the student takes the cash and stares at the guy, completely lost. Flashing a wick grin, the VIP asks if he needs to teach the rookie how to act when receiving a treat like that. The big shot points his finger straight at the terrified staff girl and orders the kid to smack her right then and there. Looking down at the kid, the suited guy sizes up his hesitation, clearly noticing the teen's zero experience in this kind of shoddy environment. To sweeten the awful deal, the guy pulls a whole stack of cash from his pocket, offering it as extra pay for the dirty work. Holding the massive stack of bills, Gang Han's eyes widen slightly as his brain processes the ridiculous amount he just got handed. Doubling down on the cruel order, the guy in shades asks again if the kid needs a tutorial on what to do. The VIP points at the woman again and demands the hit happens immediately, no stalling. With pure disrespect, the VIP client says he'll double the cash if the teen hits the staff girl 2 times in a row. Faced with the insane offer, the judo kid breaks a cold sweat, totally frozen by the pressure of the moment. Staring at the pile of cash, the kid does the math in his head. That amount could cover his family's past, do rent for 2 whole months. The boss of the VIP booth lets out an excited laugh and pressures the kid, wanting to know if he's only going to hit her once. Extremely torn, the teen looks away, feeling the crushing weight of his money problems. The bouncer slowly turns his body toward the staff girl, who backs up against the club's wall in pure terror. Eaten up by guilt and frustration, the student bites his lip, trying to make a brutal decision. But his protector instincts take the wheel, and he reaches out, deciding to hand all that cash back to the big shot. With a focused glare, the kid shows he isn't about to bully innocent people just for a payday. Without any warning, the bald coworker steps in front of everyone and lands a brutal slap right on the woman's face. After the cowardly move, the older employee stands next to the teen, taking over the crazy tense situation. The coworker snatches the stack of bills and bows humbly, apologizing to the VIP and promising the team will be properly trained. Gripping the cash, the veteran bouncer keeps a cold posture, proving he'll do absolutely anything for the client. Super annoyed by the interruption, the guy in shades aggressively asks who told the older bouncer to step in. The bald employee gulps and stays dead silent, taking the insult with his head bowed. Trying to keep a lid on things, the veteran raises his hand, signaling his own security team to stand down. Instantly, the VIP's goons step up furiously, asking if the club staff are looking to start a war. Keeping his submissive act, the bald bouncer orders his guys to back off, since they are dealing with very important guests. Whispering right in the rookie's ear, the older guy begs the kid to just hit the woman already and do his job. The teen turns his head, watches the bruised staff girl leaning against the counter in total despair. With a dark expression, the judo kid sighs, saying that if things have gone this far, he doesn't have a choice anymore. The young woman's eyes go wide with terror, genuinely believing the rookie is about to attack her. Moving like lightning, the student grabs a thick glass bottle that was left on the table. With a smooth motion, the bouncer raises the drink and brings his arm down, delivering a devastating blow with the object. The heavy impact lands right on the VIP's head, leaving his goons totally shocked by the scene. The bald coworker goes into full panic mode, screaming about what kind of crazy stunt the kid just pulled on the big shot. Staring at his bleeding target, Gang Han tells the staff girl to run for it right now, warning her that the booth is about to turn into a war zone. Spooked out of her mind by the incoming chaos, the girl just nods, stuttering as she gets ready to bolt. Before she can escape, one of the goons blocks the way, arrogantly letting her know she isn't going anywhere. Peeking over his shoulder at the enemy move, the teen grumbles in annoyance, realizing these punks aren't backing down. Face messy from the strike, the VIP boss screams in rage, ordering his guys to make the bouncer get on his knees right in front of him. Following orders, one of the tough guys rushes the young judoka at full speed to kick off the brawl. Using the reckless charge against him, Gang Han easily dominates the opponent and hits a flawless shoulder throw. Unable to block it, the attacker gets launched through the air and smashes violently into a glass table in the booth. But the upper hand doesn't last, because another goon slides in from the side and lands a clean kick straight to the kid's ribs. From the heavy impact, the student loses his balance and slides back, wincing from the pain of the surprise hit. Dead set on payback, the kid quickly grabs another bottle from the nearest counter. In a menacing move, he smashes the bottom of the glass object with all his strength against a hard surface. Holding the shattered bottle like a weapon, the guy steps up with a killer look, ready for a lethal strike. The extreme move totally catches the VIP off guard, making him gasp when he realizes how unhinged the rookie actually is. Out of nowhere, a firm hand grabs the student's wrist before he can use the sharp weapon. The pressure neutralizes the attack instantly, making the bottle slip from the kid's hand and shatter on the floor. Totally confused by the block, the teen turns his head in surprise, trying to see who just ruined his counterattack. The guy holding his arm is some random dude with a woman, casually dropping the fact that attacking someone with glass would be a massive headache with the cops. The guy's partner looks exhausted and mentions he didn't come to the club to party, but to pick up more work. The judo kid just blinks in total silence, having zero clue where these two spawned from in the middle of a riot. The VIP client, however, furiously points his finger, demanding to know who the busybody is and telling him to get lost. Sizing up the crew, the stranger instantly recognizes the gang of punks who were posting flex videos on social media. Internally, the newcomer figures that blowing his cover as an undercover cop would just make a mess, so he decides to stall until backup arrives. Playing peacekeeper, the detective throws his hands up with a friendly smile and asks everyone to chill out. To cover up why he jumped in, the cop throws an arm around the teen's neck, spinning a lie that the kid is just his stubborn little brother. Keeping the act flawless, the guy winks at his partner and tells her to get the bruised staff girl out of the booth. Hearing this wild story, Gang Han is totally dumbfounded, internally screaming about where this fake family lore came from. Not buying the excuse, one of the goons steps to the cop, asking who gave the woman permission to leave. Out of patience, the punk grabs the detective's hand tight in a very clear physical threat. The detective squeezes the attacker's hand right back with a confident smirk, inviting the tough guy to settle the problem directly with him. Whispering to the kid next to him, the cop admits he won't be able to hold the line for long and tells him to run. Catching the disrespect, the VIP's gun breaks the grip and lunges, throwing a wild punch at the detective. Moving crazy fast, the undercover cop dodges the straight punch thrown by the punk. Riding the opponent's momentum, the detective grabs the attacker's clothes tight. Right after, he locks up the guy's wrist to guarantee total control of the fight. Giving zero chance for defense, the detective launches the tough guy into the air with a flawless judo throw. The impact is heavy as the goon's body violently slams into the floor of the VIP section. Spotting the chaos, another crew member sneaks up from behind gripping a bottle to attack. But the cop's partner spots the danger and whips out a can of pepper spray in a flash. She blasts the spray right in the attacker's face before he can even swing. Without skipping a beat, she jumps and lands a perfect knee right to the dizzy punk's head. The pure force of the hit throws the guy backward, completely knocked out cold. The attacker's body drops brutally, totally wrecking one of the glass tables in the joint. Acting fast, the woman pulls the teen by the arm and tells him to bolt while the big shot is still trying to figure out what hit him. The trio sprints up the club's stairs to escape the riot that just exploded. Watching it all go down from a distance, the bald bouncer is frozen in shock, clueless on how to react. Right then, his walkie-talkie goes off with someone screaming desperately on the other end of the line. Outside the club, all the commotion draws the attention of someone hiding nearby. The MC watches the whole chase from a distance, rocking a hoodie and glasses to keep his identity low-key. Suddenly, a homeless guy calls out to the kid, jumps, scaring him right in the middle of the alley. The man walks up super chill and asks if the young dude has a lighter he can borrow. Super annoyed, the student snaps back, pointing out it makes zero sense for a minor to be carrying that kind of stuff. Ignoring the attitude, the older guy just covers his face and lies down right there, saying he's going to sleep. Sighing in frustration, the untouchable kid internally complains about the guy picking his exact hiding spot to take a nap. Meanwhile, the judo kid and the two cops are still booking it up the exit stairs at top speed. But heavy footsteps abruptly block the trio's escape route. The three slam on the brakes instantly when they run face first into a roadblock on the sidewalk. A squad of suited bouncers surrounds the exit, complaining that the rookie is already causing headaches on day one. The crew leader barks in a hostile tone that he got direct orders to drag the teen back inside. Knowing there's no talking his way out, Gang Han drops into his fighting stance, ready to brawl. The men in suits slowly start circling the kid to make sure he doesn't slip away. Heart racing, the student breaks a cold sweat, feeling the heavy pressure of taking on so many guys at once. Without hesitating, the teen charges first and grabs the suit of the security leader. Using all his explosive power, the kid hits a devastating takedown, slamming the massive guy onto the pavement. But his lead is short-lived, as another goon sneaks up from behind and puts the judoka in a chokehold. Determined to break free, the young guy wins up a fast elbow strike backward. The hit catches the attacker clean, forcing the guy to drop the hold. Instantly, two other bouncers rush in and grab the kid's arms from both sides to lock him down. Seeing the opening, the group leader gets back up and throws a ruthless punch. The heavy fist connects with terrifying brutality. The impact to the teen's ribs is so bad it sends an unbearable wave of pain through his side. Unable to catch his breath, the kid spits saliva and lets out an agonizing scream. The student drops to his knees on the asphalt, clutching his chest trying to get some air back in his lungs. Showing zero mercy, the suited boss starts kicking the downed kid over and over. The whole crew jumps in to jump the rookie in the middle of the empty street like total cowards. The detective's partner tries to step in but gets grabbed by one of the guys, screaming at them to stop. Ignoring her, the main attacker keeps stomping on the teen, who can't even defend himself anymore. In the middle of all that cowardice, the undercover detective tries to sneakily pull his phone out of his pocket. He grips the device, ready to call for backup and end this mess once and for all. but the goon leader catches the movement and violently snatches the phone right out of the guy's hand. The bouncer crushes the device against the pavement with a heavy stomp, trashing any chance of communication. Right after, the massive dude yanks the downed teen's hair, mocking him and asking if they were going to call the cops. The suited guy screams that he knows the kid's age, asking who he thinks is going down first if the authorities actually show up. Face bruised up, the freshman leader pants hard, trying to handle the weight of all that humiliation. Keeping his swagger even while losing, the kid sarcastically asks if the guys hiring minors shouldn't be the ones getting locked up. Suddenly, the attacker gets jump, scared spotting a mysterious figure crouching right next to him on the sidewalk. The intruder is rocking the homeless guy's hoodie and green cap, but he's got one eye glowing bright blue, proving he's totally possessed. Thinking it's just some nosy vagrant, the bouncer yells, telling the smelly dude to get lost immediately. In response to the disrespect, the MC, controlled by the master, grips the tough guy's suit sleeve with precision. Using an arm drag technique, the hooded vigilante pulls the massive guy off balance forward. Finishing the combo, he hits a surgical sweep on the opponent's vulnerable legs. The crew leader completely loses his footing and gets launched backward, having zero clue what just hit him. Trying to protect the boss, another gang member rushes in and grabs the hooded hero from behind. Turning the attack around, the mysterious fighter rolls across the asphalt, dragging the attacker with him. They both crash onto the street, but the student's possessed body already has full control of the enemy's leg. With perfect placement, he locks in a ruthless ankle lock, pushing the goon's joint to the limit. The brutal pressure twists the bouncer's ankle, doing crazy damage to the limb. Unable to take the torturous pain, the suited guy lets out an ear-piercing scream in the middle of the sidewalk. Seeing his buddy tap out, a third punk charges furiously at the MC for payback. Keeping absolute cool, the vigilant adjusts his green cap and drops into his stance waiting for the clash. The attacker throws a high kick, trying to take off the masked hero's head. With supernatural reflexes, the student ducks smoothly, dodging the strike with zero effort. Exploiting the wide-open guard, he hits the guy's plant leg with a heavy sweep and drops him hard. Right after, the fourth goon tries his luck, throwing a straight punch right at the kid's face. The Jiu-Jitsu fighter blocks the strike instantly and grabs the suited guy's arm. In a fluid motion, he throws himself backward, planting his foot on the enemy's stomach and hitting an insane circle throw. The bouncer's heavy body goes flying and smashes violently into the concrete, ending the fight in seconds. Watching the beatdown, Ganghan is totally mind blown by the hooded vigilante skills coming out of left field. But the security gang isn't quitting, and the rest of the crew rushes the intruder with pure rage. Radiating that blue aura, the student's possessed body hits a backflip and taunts the enemies, telling them all to bring it on. Annoyed by the disrespect, one of the goons steps up with a crazy hostile look. Wasting no time, the punk charges fast, stomping hard on the asphalt to close the gap. The attacker throws a quick strike, desperately trying to land a hit on the masked hero. With flawless reflexes, the Jiu-Jitsu fighter leans his body back in a perfect dodge. Catching the guy off balance, he grabs his leg and immediately locks in a calf slicer. The brutal pressure on the joint makes a horrifying popping sound echo through the street. Unable to handle the pain, the suited bouncer screams in agony as he gets submitted. Ignoring their downed buddy, two more crew members sprint desperately to return the favor. Super chill, the MC drops to the ground and sets up a complex guard, locking down both guys' legs at the same time. Using perfect leverage, he spins underneath the attackers, pulling off an insane sweep. The cinched move launches both heavy dudes into the air without them being able to block it. Immediately after, the kid takes the back of one of the goons mid-air and sinks in a tight choke. Watching that flex of technique, the judoka instantly recognizes the flow of the movements. A memory hits the guy, flashing back to the exact moment he got choked out on the school court hours ago. And two together, he's totally shell-shocked, realizing the mysterious vigilant is using the exact same style as his teacher. Right then, the last bouncer standing tries a desperate attack against the hooded hero. With total calmness, the possessed student ducks, dodging the straight punch effortlessly. In the same breath, he locks down the attacker's extended arm with a super tight grip. Using the enemy's own momentum, the kid drops to the pavement and hits a flying armbar. The guy's joint gets stretched to the absolute limit as the submission locks in perfectly. The goon lets out a terrible scream, feeling the crushing weight of the devastating move right on the sidewalk. The sound of pure agony echoes through the empty street while the freshman leader watches the total wipeout of the gang. With the job done, the fighter in the green cap taunts the teen, asking if he enjoyed the show and telling him to get out of there. Confused, the bruised kid asks who his savior is and why he just got this random backup. Flashing that glowing blue glare, the ghost replies cryptically that even if he told the truth, the kid wouldn't be able to see him anyway. Suddenly, the flash of police sirens lights up the judoka's face, announcing the cops have arrived. Spooked by the lights, the student turns his head and realizes the mysterious vigilant has already vanished into the shadows. Nearby, a cop steps out of the cruiser, demanding answers about the riot in the middle of the street. The bruised teen freezes instantly, terrified of getting busted by the cops. Without a second thought, he turns his back and sprints away into the dark neighborhood at top speed. Meanwhile, inside the club's VIP booth, the suited client and his goons are all on their knees on the floor. Totally defeated, the long-haired big shot begs to know who the guy is that just ruined their party. Super relaxed, the undercover detective reminds them that the punks threw the first punch when he just wanted to have a chat. Trying to save his own skin, the group leader owns up to the mistake and humbly begs to be let go. As a last resort, he offers a massive stack of raw cash, trying to bribe the investigator. The detective stares at the bills, totally offended, letting him know he loves cash but never takes dirty money from thugs. The caught red-handed, the rich client is dumbfounded and asks how the guy knew their real criminal background. At that moment, the other club employees point at the group, accusing the criminals of harassment and assault. Things get even worse when the uniformed officer finally walks into the booth to take over. Desperate over the scandal, the bald head of security screams, demanding proof and telling the cops to leave before they ruin his business. Right on cue, one of the party guests holds up their phone, dropping the bomb that they recorded the whole cowardly act on video. The recording perfectly shows the exact moment the big shot crossed the line with the staff member against her will. The footage confirms the rich guy's abusive behavior that started the whole mess. Things way worse, the video also shows the exact second the head of security hit his own employee just to kiss up to the VIP. Sweating bullets in the face of hard proof, the bald guy listens as the cop tells him he can save the apologies for the precinct. Out on the street, the police blockade is fully set up in front of the club, lighting up the whole block. Trying to casually walk away, the judo kid gets stopped by a guard asking for a minute of his time. The guy with a notepad asks if the kid works there and tells him he needs his cooperation for questioning. Super stressed by the stop, the teen starts stuttering, having no clue how to dodge this problem. Out of nowhere, a woman's hand firmly grabs the kid's clothes from behind. The investigator's partner pulls the guy, putting on a fake scolding act and pretending he had wandered off from her. The random move leaves both the student and the cop totally confused. Keeping the act going, the detective drags the kid down the street, yelling that his mom was looking all over for him. The uniformed officer tries to stop the escape, pointing out he was in the middle of questioning a suspect. Acting fast, the undercover investigator jumps in, swearing the kid was just a lost student and had already been cleared. The save works, and the area outside the nightclub finally starts calming down as the cops take over. Far away in a dark alley, the MC finally takes off the stolen jacket, sighing in relief alongside the ghost master. Later on, a text message demands the judoka show up at the spot they agreed on earlier. The teen walks into a small neighborhood diner and gets called out for taking so long. Sitting at a table, the cop explains she had to swing by her place to change into something more comfortable. A steaming bowl of instant ramen with an egg is served up to the starving kid. Staring at the food, the guy stays dead silent, processing everything that went down tonight. The woman notices him stalling and asks in a friendly way if he's not a fan of that kind of food. Still sketchy about her intentions, the student asks what the catch is for all this help. He follows up admitting he doesn't get why a detective would go out of her way for someone she doesn't even know. Laughing with her mouth full, the cop casually says she's just returning a favor. Getting serious, she looks the kid in the eye and says she's absolutely sure he was the hooded vigilant from school. Her brain connects the teen's fighting skills with the rumors of the mystery fighter who saved the school. Hearing that insane conclusion, the freshman leader chokes and spits out his food, totally mind blown. Cuffing non-stop, the guy tries to recover while the woman asks what's wrong with him all of a sudden. Right then, Doreen's ghost pops up behind the cop, laughing at his daughter for still being so clueless about things. Sweating buckets over her terrible detective work, the judoka wonders internally if their school even has that kind of jacket in the uniform. Breaking the awkward silence, Teacher Has Sound tells the kid he can keep playing dumb all he wants. She reveals she felt his true potential during their quick scrap in the school gym earlier. With a focused look, the woman praises the student, claiming he has real talent for martial arts. A quick flashback shows the old master mentioning that anyone would spot a prodigy like that, even if it wasn't him. The teacher then gives the judoka some advice, reminding him there are plenty of ways to make cash without getting mixed up in sketchy night jobs. She explains that before her dad passed away, he set up a special program so young athletes could train without stressing over money. The system is based on tournament results, where racking up points in the league guarantees a full scholarship. Keeping a friendly tone, Hassan asks straight up if the kid wants to take the deal and join the project. Hearing that whole pitch, Chu Gang, Hen just lets out a heavy sigh full of pure disrespect. Super annoyed, the teen asks if the teacher thinks he's some charity case looking for handouts. Caught totally off guard by the rude comeback, the woman backs up a bit, not getting the sudden rage. Not holding back, the freshman leader spills that he quit judo because he's completely sick and tired of that cursed sport. A memory hits the kid, flashing back to the days when he used to compete hardcore on the mats. He regrets wrecking his own knee training like an idiot while believing in a bright future. Making it worse, the flashback also brings up the time his family got cornered by furious debt collectors looking for a scammer. The painful memory keeps playing, showing the kid's grandma falling violently to the floor during the mess with the loan sharks. Back then, the boy screamed desperately for the older lady, feeling like totally useless trash for not being able to protect her. Snapping back to the present, the student stands up aggressively and declares he's never touching martial arts again. Right then, the teacher's detective partner walks up holding a food tray, complaining that they started eating without him. Pointing his finger at the teen, the undercover cop tells the punk he got super lucky making it out of the club in one piece. The detective mentions he's certain at least one person in the crowd managed to catch the whole mess on video. A quick flash of the party shows clients filming the brawl, remembering how the crowd refused to hand over the footage until the very end. Completely ignoring the lecture, Chu Gang Han turns his back and walks right past the guy in dead silence. Annoyed by the disrespect, the investigator calls out to the kid as he leaves the diner. Out on the dark street, the judo kid walks with his head down, staring at his phone that got completely wrecked in the fight. The shattered screen reflects the guy's frustration, until the cop's voice echoes out, saying the club girl seemed to have a thing for him. The guy holds up his own phone, showing a message where the rescued staff girl asked for the kid's contact info to repay the favor. Stopping in his tracks, the teen turns his head slightly and glares at the investigator without dropping a single word. Dropping the jokes, the cop advises the kid to stop acting so reckless, warning that pulling stunts like that is just gonna check him out early. Pissed off at the advice, the freshman leader snaps back that the guy knows zero about him and tells him to stop being newsy. Watching the kid walk off, the investigator makes a hand gesture and notes that birds of a feather always end up crossing paths. With a nostalgic laugh, the cop thinks out loud, finding it ironic that an old troublemaker ended up becoming a detective. Tuning out the small talk, the teen keeps walking alone down the poorly lit alley. Watching the kid leave, the older guy feels a heavy, familiar presence manifesting right behind him. The imposing image of the old Jiu-Jitsu master flashes in the detective's memory, confirming how much that rebel kid reminds him of the past. Back inside the diner, the cop sits at the table and admits to the teacher that he totally gets the kid's heavy baggage and wounded wolf stare. Changing the subject fast, the guy tells the educator she needs to hit the precinct to give a statement about the brawl from earlier. The fighter puts on a face of pure mental burnout, realizing the headache still wasn't actually over. Walking down the street, she grumbles annoyed, saying this kind of red tape is exactly why she hates picking fights off the mats. The next day, the freshman leader is walking up a steep street lugging a heavy bag after his school shift. Finding a quiet spot in the neighborhood, the kid pours fresh water into an old bowl left on the ground. He rips open a bag of dog food and fills another bowl while a stray caramel dog watches him happily. To the guy's surprise, more stray dogs come running up, and he jokes, asking if the animal made some new buddies. The student pets a little black dog on the head, sweetly asking if this turned into a stray convention. Watching the starving animals eat, the teen realizes the original dog only brings around friends who are in a spot just as rough as his. The detective's line about similar people crossing paths starts ringing loud in the student's head again. Processing the advice, the judoka stays quiet, taking a hard look at his own impulsive actions. Deciding to keep pushing forward, the guy just sighs, accepting he's gonna have to hustle more cash to buy extra dog food. A while later, teacher Sound walks into the school gym rocking a purple G, announcing the start of another club activity. Staring at her hype with pure boredom, young Min asks why this school has more club time than actual regular classes. Eyes burning with rage, the woman screams that's because you rebel punks never pay attention in regular classes anyway. Out of nowhere, the heavy gym doors get violently shoved open, echoing through the building. The masked student Min G shows up at the entrance, panting like crazy from an insane physical effort. The weird kid is dragging a massive weight across the floor, making the MC wonder if he brought a punching bag. The untouchable kid jokes to the teacher that the new guy probably burned all his energy just hauling that thing from home to school. Shaking from exhaustion, the masked guy raises his hand and points a finger toward the hallway. The duo turns their heads, curious to see who is tagging along with the weird kid that afternoon. Rocking a spotless blue gi, Chu Ganghen steps into the gym and asks if he can practice wearing that gear. Hyped about his return, the educator smiles and asks what made him flip-flop, after swearing he'd never fight again. Dropping his backpack on the floor, the teen throws a determined glare and answers that someone hit him with some serious truth bombs. The judo kid admits he learned that people on the same wavelength are bound to meet up again. The image of the vigilant in the green cap pops into the guy's head, cementing his theory that his savior used the same fighting style. Full of drive, the teen swears he doesn't know the guy's identity, but is totally sure the dude showed up because he knew him somehow. Diving into his own memories, the freshman leader thinks back to when he was just an innocent little kid. He clearly remembers watching massive competitions on TV and hyping up the strength of a true gold medalist. The nostalgic flashback of that fighter drinking water reignites the kid's old dream of becoming a top-tier champion on the mats. Snapping back to reality, Chu Ganghen grips his uniform, convinced that if he keeps grinding in the club, he'll run into the masked fighter again. Hearing the guy's logic, young Min starts sweating bullets, absolutely terrified since he's the actual owner of that disguise. Breaking the tense vibe, the teacher says the blue gi is cool, but recommends lighter gear for the next classes. But the educator flips a switch, pulling a threatening pose while holding a mop handle in the middle of the court. Pointing the wood right at the new guy, she cashes in on yesterday's bet, asking if he thought she forgot about his punishment. Cornered, the teen just looks away, dropping a heavy sigh of pure defeat. In a super weird move, the woman ties the cloth around herself and demonstrates how to mop the floor by dragging herself using ground mobility techniques. Holding his broom, the guy watches the teacher's insanity without a single drop of motivation to join in. Meanwhile, the MC and the masked kid are already dead on the gym floor, completely wrecked after hours of that crazy cleaning session. Sweating from exhaustion, the MC stares at the situation, wondering if this is really how the joke's gonna play out. Jay throws on his all-black ninja gear and dares the new kid to bring everything he's got. Without any warning, a hand grabs the masked kid's gi super tight. The weird student lets out a panicked scream as sweat drips down his face. Radiating a terrifying aura, Teacher Sound lifts a piece of wood, demanding the two idiots play nice during technique drills. Watching the group from a distance, Chu Ganghen sighs, annoyed, asking himself if he seriously has to train with these losers. The educator then announces that the drill reps are done for now. Dead serious, she declares that from this second on, they are doing live sparring, stressing that the main rule is to train without injuring your partner. To kick things off, the fighter points and picks the MC as the first one up. Turning her head, the woman pairs the judo kid up as the boy's sparring partner. Min is totally horrified by the idea, thinking the matchup is absolute garbage, knowing the other guy competed at a high level. Smelling the kid's fear, the freshman leader taunts him, asking if he's already shook and pretending to be just a helpless rookie. The untouchable kid gulps, seriously doubting his own ability to survive against such an experienced opponent. But he takes a deep breath and tries to hype himself up, remembering he still has one trick up his sleeve. Focused on the upcoming clash, the teen closes his eyes, getting his mind right for what's about to happen. Throwing his arms out confidently, the untouchable student announces out loud that he's ready. Dorian's ghost spawns right behind him, confused, asking if the kid was talking to him. Flashing his blue aura, the master calls the kid a moron and clarifies that this training block is 100% on the teen's shoulders. With a harsh glare, the entity asks if the brat forgot he hates shortcuts and tells him to go fight his own battles. The MC freezes on the spot, totally panicking once he realizes he just got left high and dry. Noticing him acting weird, the teacher asks if everything is cool, and the kid plays it off saying he was just warming up. The educator points to the center of the mat, telling both of them to get set. With a sharp downward chop, she yells, officially starting the match. Wasting absolutely zero time, Ganghen blitzes forward with insane speed. The judoka shoots his arm out and grips the opponent's GI right near the collar. Caught sleeping, Min feels the instant pressure and realizes the guy's brute strength is on a totally different level. Trying to survive any way he can, he squints and decides to just focus on keeping his balance no matter what. But the opponent adjusts his grip on the fabric with veteran experience to launch his attack. Using his leg for leverage, the freshman leader hits a flawless throw and sends the kid flying. The crash is unavoidable, and the MC slams his back hard onto the mat, letting out a groan of pain. From the sidelines, the teacher screams, demanding the downed student close his guard immediately. The ghost pops up next to the kid, telling him to chill out and lock his legs around the opponent. Acting on reflex, the student kicks his feet up and wraps them around the guy's waist. He crosses his ankles tight and manages to lock in the closed guard perfectly. Still stressed on the ground, the kid's eyes go wide as he tries to remember what his next move is supposed to be. Looking down at the kid, the judoka throws a look of pure boredom at the annoying defense. Using raw power, the guy literally just stands up, deadlifting his sparring partner right off the ground with him. The educator freaks out at the move, instantly recognizing the experienced student's dangerous plan. The freshman leader hoists the kid's body even higher, winding up to slam him into the floor with everything he's got. Stopping the fight instantly, the woman grabs the attacker's arm and warns him that brutal slams like that are totally illegal under Jiu-Jitsu rules. She points to the gap between the kid's legs, explaining that the right move is to try and break that defense. Shadowing the motion, the fighter shows that the real goal is to safely pass the opponent's guard. Resetting to the starting positions, the teacher holds her hand out, deciding they are going to run it back one more time. With another loud command, the woman restarts the scrap in the middle of the school gym. The Ghost Master advises the young guy not to just grab on without a game plan, telling him to force the opponent into a bad spot. The Blue Spirit coaches the MC to pull guard the exact second the fight starts. Sweating bullets, the teen nods in his head, fully aware his only real shot at surviving is taking the fight to the floor. On the other side, Gang Hen stays dialed in, radiating pure confidence for round 2. The two rivals reach out to bump fists, standard respect for the sport. The quick fist bump seals the mutual respect right before the action kicks off again. Right after the tap, the untouchable student steps back fast, trying to keep a safe distance. Looking determined as hell, he rushes in, trying to put his game plan to work. But the judoka reads it perfectly and locks down the kid's arm in the blink of an eye. Spinning his body, the veteran opponent lands another devastating throw. The teacher and the masked kid watch the scene in shock, unable to believe how clean the technique was. Watching the kid fly across the mat, the ghost curses himself for forgetting one massive detail about his student. A flashback shows the exact day the teen stepped into the old training gym for the very first time. Even surrounded by a bunch of other kids, the shy boy always managed to stand out to the coach in his own weird way. The spirit's eyes go wide as he realizes the core flaw ruining the kid's fights. Failing to pull guard, the MC's body violently crashes into the gym floor once again. Surprised by the impact, the judoka gets confused by how little resistance the guy put up. The boy tries to scurry backward in panic, while the master bitterly accepts that the kid has literally zero talent for this sport. Watching the disaster, the teacher facepalms, completely let down by the student's trash performance. The spirit crosses his arms, shooting a harsh glare at that pathetic excuse for a fight. Seeing his opponent run away by dragging his butt on the floor, the freshman leader sarcastically asks if the kid thinks he's some kind of breakdancer. Panicking, the teen backs up, and the ghost screams at him to lock in his defense right now. Smelling blood, the opponent rushes in full speed and throws himself on top of the downed kid. The untouchable young guy lets out a muffled groan, feeling the dead weight of the opponent crushing him. The judoka flashes a cold stare and warns that his martial art also covers lethal chokeholds. Keeping side control tight, the teen pins the MC, throwing down heavy top pressure on the mat. The attacker's arm traps the boy's neck and head with relentless squeezing. He shifts his body weight perfectly to crush his sparring partner's ribs without an ounce of mercy. The force behind the submissions is so extreme it feels like it's gonna snap the kid's chest bones. Chiol. Mimin's face turns bright red and he starts coughing in absolute panic. Tapping out to the unbearable pain, the student's hand slaps the mat over and over, calling it quits instantly. Back outside the massive gym, the intense training day finally wraps up. Chiol, Min walks across the courtyard looking at his shoes, completely crushed by his own garbage performance. Right then, Gang Hen walks up and grabs the kid's shoulder, asking if he's mad he got smoked like that. Keeping it 100% real, the untouchable kid says no, admitting he lost simply because he sucks at it. The judoka's eyes widen a bit, genuinely surprised by such a blunt answer. Trying to piece it together, the guy mentions he already figured the kid was weak, so he tried to go easy on him. But the freshman leader instantly drops a toxic diss, saying the boy still managed to be even more useless than he expected. Min lets out a fake laugh, pretending to just brush off the insult as a joke. Flipping the switch instantly, the rebel teen gets furious and asks if the boy thinks the situation is funny. Without waiting for a comeback, Gang Han walks right past the MC, throwing a look of pure disgust. Making things worse, another bully chucks a sweaty shirt right at the kid's face, telling him to carry it. The boy just takes a deep sigh, silently eating another toxic move in his daily school routine. Gripping his own belt, the student complains that this insane level of pressure and humiliation is exactly why he ditched sports back in the day. Back inside the court, the Ghost Master watches his student walk away looking completely defeated. Glowing with his blue aura, the spirit crosses his arms and declares that the kid still has a long, brutal road ahead of him. The weather starts getting ugly over the school building, dragging in a heavy vibe and dark clouds. The old champion's ghost keeps a sharp look, fully aware of the bad energy wrapping around that place. Later on in the staff room, educator Hassan is left all alone after clocking out. The fighter looks around the empty room, noticing the place feels way too quiet. Walking past the desks, the woman spots teacher Yuna's stuff and thinks it's super weird that her coworker just left everything behind. Suddenly, the abandoned phone on the desk starts buzzing with aggressive text demanding to know where the owner is. The phone keeps blowing up, revealing desperate calls, ordering the employee to pick up right now. The math teacher stares at the glowing screen, getting a gut feeling that something is very wrong. Out of nowhere, the vice principal snatches the phone harshly and scolds the young woman, telling her to stop snooping through other people's stuff. The scene cuts to the school's filthy hallways, which are acting like a total ghost town. Noticing the weird silence, Hassan wonders what got into those problem kids to make them so quiet. Right then, the old vice principal calls out to the young woman from behind, giving her a massive jump scare. The lady in glasses gets up close, asking in a super critical tone if that little fight club is actually producing any results. Trying to keep the good vibes alive, the teacher tenses up and mentions it's only been 2 days, but celebrates that no riots have popped off yet. Dripping with disdain, the older woman guarantees you can't fix thugs, and that teens like that are never going to change for real. Faced with that super toxic mindset, the fighter just drops an exhausted sigh, having zero ammo to defend the school's trash reputation. Later on, the educator and the MC are walking together toward the school exit. Trying to hype the kid up, she catches up to him, noticing he was already bummed out before and now looks straight up depressed. The woman asks what the big deal is, reminding him he only lost one single sparring session. Staring at the floor, the student vents about his bad luck, confessing he is 100% sure he has zero talent for sports. Waving her hands around, the teacher pushes back, saying that if everyone was born a prodigy, any random guy on the street would be a world champ. She starts telling the origin story of the sport's founder, revealing he was also a small, physically fragile dude. The educator explains that leverage techniques were invented exactly to hack that disadvantage, making Jiu-Jitsu a martial art literally built for the underdogs. The untouchable kid argues back, saying he bought into that hype in the past, but just ended up leaving the gym knowing for a fact he was a loser. Totally frustrated, he vents about being a punching bag for 15 years, and how now he even gives up on fights in his sleep. Getting serious, the woman drops the truth that this sport isn't about winning 24/7, but about stacking knowledge little by little. Holding out her fist confidently, she asks if the kid remembers the golden rule of the mats, where you only have 2 choices. The kid bumps her fist, finishing the famous quote, "You either win or you learn." Suddenly, Min looks away, spotting something super sketchy on their route. He points toward a nearby alley, asking why the Ghost Master has been lurking back there this whole time. Looking stressed out, the blue entity puts a finger to his lips, begging the kid to shut up immediately. The boy blinks, totally lost as to why his old coach is acting so secretive. The sky over the school gets even darker, brewing heavy storm clouds that look like they're gonna swallow the whole building. The untouchable kid feels a chill run down his spine, realizing the vibe of the place just did a massive 180. Staring at the school, the boy mutters that it feels like someone is about to lose their life in that building, completely creeping out the teacher with the random dark comment. Super tense from the bad energy, he hesitates, trying to explain what his gut is telling him. Up on the roof, a sinister figure glowing with a dark green aura watches the courtyard, confirming the MC's awful gut feeling. The scene cuts to inside one of the classrooms, where teacher Yuna is running her reading session super chill. Holding the textbook, the woman explains that depression isn't just about lacking willpower, but is a legit medical condition triggered by chemical imbalances. She keeps reading, pointing out that despite being a massive global issue, most patients don't get treatment purely because it's an invisible struggle. The text highlights that when someone's mind crashes, the person usually ends up blaming themselves for everything. Showing zero respect, a cocky student groans, trashing the lesson topic and asking when this garbage is going to end. Keeping her friendly vibe, the educator ignores the disrespect and wraps up saying the mind snaps, just like a bone. But since you can't put a cast on it, people just ignore the problem. Losing his patience, the punk aggressively announces he doesn't give a crap about this depressing stuff. Contrasting with the chaos, another student grips his pen tight, trying his hardest to actually focus on the teacher's lecture. Annoyed by the nerd, the bully pokes his classmate, asking if he even understands what he's scribbling down. Sweating bullets, the chubby kid stutters back that they told him taking notes was the ultimate key to studying. Yanking the poor kid's hair, the punk mocks him, asking how someone who grinds so hard can still be the dumbest kid in school, telling him to shut his mouth. After the bell rings, Hassan walks down the hall and flags down her coworker Yuna for a chat. The literature teacher turns around super sweet and sparks up a conversation, curious about the new Jiu-Jitsu club's activities. The fighter matches the good energy, inviting her friend to drop by the gym, and mentions she's also interested in checking out the famous ukulele club. Looking a bit awkward, Yuna scratches her cheek, admitting the club's name is basically just a cover. She explains the kids' real routine inside the club is way more about rap battles than playing any traditional music. The teacher spills that the tiny instrument gets smashed and taped back together by the boys almost every single day. On top of that, she mentions the members are always breaking their diets, joking about a student who was caught inhaling chips and dropping the worst excuses. Despite all the chaos, the woman shows a ton of love, claiming the best part is just seeing the teens genuinely having fun. Totally amazed by her coworker's passion, Hassan praises her ability to stay so positive while dealing with so much drama. But Yuna's vibe suddenly gets super depressing as she replies that she just needs to keep doing her job as an educator. The scene does a brutal switch, revealing the young teacher standing right on the ledge of the school roof, internally trashing herself for being a useless employee. Down below, in the courtyard, Min and the fighter's eyes go wide with pure shock as they realize what's about to go down at the top of the building. The MC's eyes bug out, totally paralyzed processing the terrifying scene playing out up high. Near the edge, two Reapers patiently wait while the white-haired one notices that Yuna still has a long life ahead, completely confused by the whole setup. His coworker in glasses jots something on his clipboard and explains she's wishing for her own end, suggesting they just hang back and take her right after. Knowing the rules, the pale guy sighs that it's her choice to end her story early, admitting he can't do a single thing to stop it. Down in the courtyard, teacher Sound completely loses it, screaming at the top of her lungs, begging her friend to step away from the ledge right now. Just the tip of the educator's shoe separates her from the deadly drop off the edge of the building. Completely shattered inside, the literature teacher cries non-stop while staring up at the cloudy sky. Watching the clock, the suited Reaper mentions it usually only takes about 10 minutes between the initial thought and the final jump. Hearing the stats, his partner realizes the woman's time is running out scary fast. In the middle of the yard, Min notices how insanely unbothered the other students are, getting furious that nobody gives a damn about a crisis like this. The blonde bully rolls his eyes, looking bored out of his mind, and calls the teacher's crisis pure attention-seeking theater. With zero humanity, the punk crosses his arms and screams for her to stop stalling and just jump already. Sick to his stomach over the cruelty, the untouchable kid realizes the absolute top priority right now is just buying time. A painful memory hits the young guy, flashing back to himself sitting in a dark room during a similar breakdown, proving he knows exactly how that dark hole feels. The flashback shows a hand gripping a box cutter, hammering home just how heavy his own past trauma really is. Clenching his fist, the student figures out that if they can just distract the woman during this critical window, her life will be saved. Without wasting a second, he drops his backpack and takes off sprinting, desperately begging the math teacher to keep her friend's attention no matter what. Staying in the courtyard, Hassan looks up and screams her coworker's name with everything she's got. Spitting out the first lie her brain makes up, she asks why the a cappella performance hasn't started yet, complaining she's been waiting for 2 hours. Still sobbing heavily, Yuna corrects her friend, sadly reminding her that the club was for ukulele. Playing completely dumb, Hassan asks what she's doing up there looking like that. The literature teacher gulps, feeling the crushing weight of her own final choice. Her foot finally slips off the roof's edge, officially starting the freefall. Min is absolutely flying up the school stairs at a ridiculous speed. The kid pants like crazy, pushing his body to the absolute limit trying to reach the roof in time. Outside, the woman's body leans forward, dropping straight into the void. At the critical second, a hand shoots out of nowhere and grabs her clothes super tight from behind. Totally shell-shocked, the educator's eyes go wide as she gets yanked back against her will. A violent jerk pulls her off the edge, throwing her safely onto the roof floor. Judo kid Chu Gang, Han is standing there holding the teacher tight, making sure she doesn't slip off the building. Bawling her eyes out, the woman panics, demanding to know who the student is and ordering him to let her go right that second. Ignoring her freakout, the teen spins his body and drags the teacher away from the drop zone once and for all. Holding the educator down firmly, the guy throws her own classroom words back at her about the mind snapping just like a bone. The judoka's feet lock hard into the roof tiles, locking down the safety for both of them. He furiously asks why she decided to cancel her own subscription to Life, instead of just going to the hospital for treatment. Hearing the random scolding, the woman just cries in silence, totally disarmed by his move. Right at that exact second, the roof access door gets kicked open with a massive bang. The Reaper duo turns their heads, curious about who just crashed their scene. The pale guy throws a look of pure surprise when he spots the newcomer. Completely gassed Chill, Min stops at the doorway trying to catch his breath after that insane sprint. The chill vibe returns to the school building as the tragedy gets cancelled at the literal last second. Teacher San drops a massive sigh, feeling a gigantic wave of relief wash over her. Annoyed by the rescue, the blonde bully curses the whole thing and cruelly mutters that it would have been a fun show if she actually checked out. The fighter hears the trash talk and turns her head, blood boiling as she cracks her knuckles. Losing her cool completely, the educator screams, calling out the arrogant punks and getting ready to teach them a lesson. The head bully backs up, spooked by her rage, and asks who the hell this crazy lady is. Pointing her finger, Hassan yells, furious, asking if they seriously find it funny when someone tries to end their own existence. Getting his swagger back, the punk flashes a sadistic smirk and confirms that yeah, it's actually hilarious. The educator is paralyzed by the absolute zero humanity coming from a teenager. Walking by, a guy in a hoodie thinks to himself that he'd heard rumors about the school tool turning into a complete circus lately. The mysterious dude throws a dark look and asks, what kind of teacher thinks they have the right to raise their voice like that? Back on the roof, Gang Han is still guarding the woman and quotes the rumor about hearts breaking just like bones do. Dropping his tone a bit, he repeats that broken things need to be fixed at the hospital, completely lost as to why she chose such a sad way out. The literature teacher's emotional dam breaks, and she collapses into tears, feeling the full weight of her trauma. Her legs give out, and she drops to the roof floor, covering her face to just sob. The freshman leader watches her drop, giving the woman space to process her pain. The MC spots the pale guy and asks out loud why Mingyu is hanging out up there. The Reaper's eyes bug out hearing his own name, and he whips his head toward the student, totally mind blown. Sizing the kid up, the entity notices the boy's spiritual channel is wide open and wonders if the brat is some kind of shaman. In a flash, the spirit gets all up in the kid's face and asks straight up if the teen can actually see him. Sweating bullets, the untouchable kid realizes the massive screw-up he just made by talking out loud. The Reaper summons a spirit flame in his hand and threatens the boy, telling him to answer or he's getting dragged to the afterlife with him. Desperate to shake the ghost, the kid turns his head and screams the name Mingyu at the judo kid, telling him to grab the teacher so they can head down. Ignoring the name mix-up, the teen carries the woman inside the building while the ghost duo just watches. Catching the student's bad acting, the pale guy lets out a mocking laugh, calling the kid a total coward. Switching topics, he turns to his partner in glasses and asks if they ever tracked down the ghost that stole their official gear last time. A flashback shows the old ghost master choking out the suited Reaper, screaming that it was rigged and he absolutely wasn't going to the afterlife. Sighing in frustration, his partner admits he blacked out during the attack and remembers absolutely nothing. The pale guy thinks it's weird since they aren't human, but his buddy explains that hits hurt just as bad in the spirit world, and nobody can stop a ghost fueled by pure grudge. Stressed out, the Reaper in glasses asks what his friend is going to do now, pointing out that if management finds out they lost the item again, the punishment is guaranteed. He drops the lore about another Reaper who made the same mistake 3 times and got punished by respawning in the animal kingdom to live off pure instinct. The image of a gross roach scurrying across the floor illustrates the awful fate of their old coworker. Annoyed by his buddy's joking tone, the suited guy complains, telling him to cut the comedy, while the pale one pretends to be super stressed about the mess. Radiating an aggressive aura, the white-haired Reaper internally curses the damn ghost that caused this whole headache. A bird's eye view of the city shows his relentless hunt, while the entity wonders where the hell that cursed spirit is hiding. Back in the school stairwell, the MC is flying down the steps at top speed, with the ghost master right behind him. Relieved about the escape, Dorian takes a deep breath and thanks his lucky stars that the Reaper didn't clock him on the roof. But the pale guy's sharp glare proves he totally suspected something was sketchy about that whole situation. Down in the courtyard, a dude in a hoodie walks up and steps aggressively right into Teacher Sound's personal space. The guy drops a hostile stance and asks who she thinks she is yelling like that, demanding to know if the woman wants to violate his rights. Not getting the audacity, the educator claps back at the crazy accusation and demands to know who this mystery punk is. Right then, one of the bullies jumps into the chat, calling the hooded guy a senior, and tries to cool things down by saying they were just leaving. The fighter is caught off guard by the info and asks if the intruder actually goes to this school. Pulling back his hood, The senior named Gong Ryle mocks the woman, saying it's a joke she calls herself a teacher and doesn't even know her own students. Standing her ground, she fires back instantly, asking if the kid has even been showing up to class lately. The problem kid grinds his teeth, annoyed by her tough attitude, hinting that the rookie teacher still doesn't get how things run around here. Super calm, the educator makes it clear she's not looking for a scrap, but just doing her job to keep the students in check. Looking away with pure disgust, Gong Ryle grumbles that this is what happens when you go easy on women and uses the tense roof situation as his excuse. With terrifying coldness, the senior claims the literature teacher is just getting the punishment she deserves. The cruel comment hits sound like a truck, her eyes go wide, unable to believe a kid would talk about a tragedy like that. Showing zero regret, the senior reveals he's the teacher's boyfriend and swears he has every right to act that way. The educator just freezes, totally grossed out trying to process that sick piece of info. Riding the tension, the other bully tells his boss to chill and mentions the rest of the squad is probably waiting on them. Taking the out, Gong Ryle insults the fighter and promises he'll deal with her later. Turning his back, the problem kid shoves his hands in his pockets and starts walking away across the courtyard. Boiling with rage, San steps up demanding answers and orders the punk to come back immediately to finish explaining himself. The senior glances over his shoulder, completely out of patience, and asks if the crazy lady lost her mind. Out of nowhere, the bully's sidekick blocks the way and warns the teacher to back off. The vice principal suddenly pops up and orders the staff member to stand down, dropping the bomb that this student has put several teachers in the hospital before. Annoyed by the older lady crashing the scene, the guy grumbles, complaining that she never stops yapping in his ear. Flexing her authority, the vice principal reminds the senior he is suspended and strictly banned from stepping foot on school grounds. Faking hurt feelings, Gong Ryle accuses the older lady of being toxic and discriminating against a student who just wants his right to learn. Not backing down, the lady in glasses guarantees that even though this school has the worst rep in the country, they refuse to teach someone with his track record. With a look of pure disgust, she calls the teen nothing but a cheap thug who spends his life terrorizing people. The word thug hits the senior's ego hard, instantly wiping that mocking smirk right off his face. Completely unhinged, the teenager screams at the top of his lungs, demanding to know who the old lady is calling a criminal. A horrifying flashback triggers, showing the guy cornering a helpless victim in a dark stairwell. The image reveals the literature teacher crying on the floor, proving the sick stalking she was put through. The heavy footsteps of the attacker getting closer highlight the absolute terror the trapped woman was feeling. Back in the present, Gong Ryle charges in furiously and threatens the vice principal, asking if the teacher was the one who made up that fake story. The old lady panics at the kid's aggression and begs him to back away right now. Jumping in at the perfect time, the school security guard slides into the mess and grabs the kid's arm to protect his boss. Caught off guard by the older man's brute strength, the senior gets locked in place, unable to break free. With a harsh glare, the guard asks who gave him permission to trespass and warns the punk he's gonna catch a beatdown if he doesn't leave. The vibe gets heavy and the bully's sidekick panics, warning they stand zero chance against the guard and suggesting they dip fast. Taking the L, the crew leader curses out the older staff and decides to back off so he doesn't get wrecked. The gang of punks finally turns around and drags their feet out of the schoolyard. Calming down, the vice principal thanks the head of security, but the guy just grumbles, reminding her he's just a regular employee. Changing the subject casually, the guard asks if the principal is still in the building since it's way past dinner time. Watching this absolute circus of bizarre events, teacher Hassan sighs in disbelief, wondering what kind of insane asylum this school actually is. Right after the roof rescue, the MC and the judo kid help the literature teacher down the stairs super carefully. Keeping his tough guy act, the freshman leader promises they got this and will get her out safely. Traumatized by everything that went down, the woman just keeps a blank, sad stare glued to the floor. With things finally under control, the school staff squad decides to end the day at a local BBQ joint. The admin team and the teachers huddle around a packed table to try and shake off the heavy afternoon vibes. Gripping her chopsticks, Hassan hypes her friend up to eat a ton, asking if she isn't a fan of meat. Still totally shut down, the depressed educator tries to put a sentence together, but ends up choking on her words halfway through. In a clunky attempt to be nice, the old principal drops a piece of meat onto her plate, trying to break the ice. With her cheeks stuffed with food, the vice principal gives a teary scolding, claiming she almost had a heart attack with the crazy stunt her coworker tried to pull. Staring at the ridiculous display, Yuna politely asks the older lady to swallow her food first because she couldn't understand a single word. Pointing her spoon like a weapon, the fighter declares her friend is not going to be alone and will be dragged straight to therapy right after dinner. Exhausted by all the attention, the woman rests her head on the table and begs everyone to just leave her alone. The chat gets serious when the math teacher asks if the student Gong Ryal is the reason behind all this mess. Just hearing the stalker's name is enough to make a tear roll down the traumatized educator's cheek. Super worried, Hassan reveals the board already tipped her off about the case and demands to know exactly what that punk did. Crushed by guilt, the teacher cries quietly, confessing that this whole nightmare was totally her fault. A distant memory shows the young woman's first day on the job, pulling up to the front of the messed up school. The second she stepped into the courtyard, she saw the absolute chaos of kids brawling, but swore to herself she was going to be the one to fix it. Full of hope, the educator promised she'd turn the worst school in the country into a decent place. The flashback shows the hyped-up rookie pitching a revolutionary lesson plan to a veteran staff member. The older teacher just throws a look of pure exhaustion and tells the rookie to save her breath, asking only that she doesn't end up quitting. The woman blinks, completely confused by her coworker's hardcore doom and gloom attitude. Soon enough, the brutal reality of the place hits when a bully violently slams another kid onto the ground right in front of her. The victim's body smashes into the school floor with a terrifying thud, putting the daily violence on full display. Things got worse when she caught young Gong Ryal cornering a classmate, forcing the teacher to run and screaming to stop it. Ignoring the woman's authority, the punk landed a devastating punch straight to the victim's face. Blinded by rage, the attacker screamed, asking why people keep talking trash if they can't handle the consequences. Desperate to stop a murder, Yuna grabbed the problem kid's clothes, and he turned around flashing a straight-up psychopath glare. Shaking with fear while clutching her useless lesson plan, the educator begged the kid to stop the beatdown. Sizing up the teacher's weakness, the punk cracked a sadistic smile and mocked her, asking what the fragile lady thought she was trying to pull. Flashing back, Teacher Yuna screams, begging the student to stop the violence and just talk things out to fix the problem. Desperately trying to cool things down, she asks him to chill and suggests they sit down for a friendly chat. Faced with this peaceful vibe, the delinquent just blinks, having zero clue what the woman is trying to pull. The memory skips to a counseling session at school, where the educator gently asks where all that anger is coming from. Venting Gong Ryal spills that everyone mocks him for not having a family, furious that he gets bullied for an abandonment he never even chose. Hearing that heartbreaking story, the young woman's eyes water up, feeling horrible for what the teen has been through. Caught off guard by her genuine empathy, the problem kid asks if she's actually crying over him. In a super sweet tone, Yuna deeply sympathizes with everything he's had to face alone in his life. To show she's got his back, the educator reaches out and holds the student's hand tight with genuine warmth. Right after, she very gently slaps a small band-aid over the cuts on the kid's hand. Crying openly, the teacher promises she's in his corner and will always root for him to win in life. The rebel teen completely freezes, shell-shocked by receiving a level of care he's literally never felt before. Fast forward a bit, the scene shows the educator walking down the school halls alone, feeling relieved. Suddenly, Gong Ryal pops up beside her asking for another counseling session, and the woman happily agrees. The meetup ends up happening off campus, with the duo chatting it up at a local convenience store. Laughing hard at the conversation, Yuna acts surprised, mentioning she had no idea the kid had such a fun side. The student flashes a slightly creepy smile, obviously obsessed with getting all of the woman's exclusive attention. The late afternoon rolls in, painting the sky with a beautiful sunset over the outdoor area where they were talking. Without any warning, the guy takes a step forward, closing the gap between them in a super intimidating way. With a heavy stare, he pressures the teacher, asking if they can hang out alone again. Feeling awkward, the educator checks her phone and tries to dodge the setup, saying it's past time for her to head home. Instantly, the delinquent's eyes bug out, demanding an answer and asking if she's rejecting him. Totally losing it, the kid screams with a psycho look, throwing it in her face that she promised to always be on his side. Sweating bullets from the sudden hostility, the woman caves to the pressure and agrees to stay just a little bit longer. A while later in an empty classroom, the problem student flexes about having bruised up a classmate's face in a brawl. Clearly creeped out by the violent talk, Yuna quietly asks if they can talk about literally anything else. The teen leans in and asks why she wants to change the topic, swearing he thought she was loving the stories. Cornered, the teacher lies and agrees it's fun, but tries to squirm out by saying she doesn't really get fighting. The vibe in the dark room gets super heavy, and the guy stares at her in silence before calling her by her first name in a deadpan voice. Flashing a sinister, sick look, the senior asks point blank if the woman thinks he's a good boy. Trying to pacify the student, Yuna assures him that even though he acts tough on the outside, he actually has a very pure heart. Hearing the compliment, the punk's face lights up with a terrifying, completely unhinged excitement. Taking the opening, the educator checks the time on her phone and announces it's too late, trying to wrap up the chat. Brutally and out of nowhere, the kid lunges at the teacher and forces a kiss on her without an ounce of consent. The attacker's heavy hand violently grabs the woman's hair to stop her from escaping the assault. The educator's eyes blow up in a mix of absolute terror and shock at the nightmare playing out. Her fists clench up, shaking uncontrollably while her brain tries to process what just happened. Gathering every ounce of her strength, the young woman shoves the teen away in pure panic. Driven by desperation and disgust, the teacher delivers a stinging slap straight to the creep's face. Right after, she covers her own mouth in horror, realizing the extreme weight of the move she just had to pull. The problem kid touches his slapped cheek, staying in a horribly threatening silence. Lifting his face with a psycho expression, he asks what she thinks she's doing to her own boyfriend. The woman panics at the guy's delusion, stuttering as she demands to know when they ever had any sort of relationship. Completely detached from reality, the senior screams his lungs out, accusing the educator of telling him she liked and loved him. Backing away in terror, Yuna declares that this dynamic is dead and cancels all their sessions immediately. Escaping the toxic room, the educator sprints through the door and slams it shut behind her. Through the classroom window, the silhouette of the stalker student is seen standing dead still in the darkness. Facing away, the teen's body tenses up while he clenches his fists, boiling with rage over getting rejected. With a look of pure hatred, he accuses the woman of just playing with his feelings, locking in his cruel villain arcs. Another time in the school hallway, the teacher is walking super stressed when she hears her own phone ringing. The device's screen displays a ridiculous 48 missed calls from the psycho stalker. Yuna sighs with a burnt-out look, feeling the crushing weight of this psychological torture ruining her peace. Suddenly, the woman notices a creepy presence when she hears someone fake coughing in the hallway. The problem student casually leans against the wall and demands his next counseling session. Trying to cut him off, the teacher walks right past him, quickly saying it's not happening today. Ignoring her boundaries, the punk aggressively grabs her wrist to stop her from getting away. Blinded by fury, the kid demands to know why she's doing this and accuses the educator of abandoning him. The stalker's hand squeezes her arm with crazy force while he screams, asking if everything was just a joke to her. In pain, Yuna violently yanks her arm back to break free and yells, calling out how insane this whole setup is. Absolutely drained, the woman finally snaps and screams that they never dated, because it was literally just her job. The raw truth hits the guy, whose eyes go wide, completely consumed by toxic outrage. Capitalizing on his shock, the teacher turns her back and runs for her life up the school stairs. A flood of toxic text blows up the woman's phone, with the kid cursing her out and demanding attention. The stalker's delusion peaks with one last sinister message stating she needs to be punished. Reading the threats, the educator pants heavily, feeling the psychological terror draining all her energy. Suddenly, she gets massively scared when she feels sketchy movement right behind her back. An aggressive hand shoots out of nowhere and violently yanks the woman's hair backward. The cowardly pull throws the teacher straight onto the cold floor, revealing two masked guys stepping up in the isolated hallway. Curled up on the floor, the young woman cries in terror and asks who they are and why they are attacking her for zero reason. One of the masked thugs holding a dirty bucket replies coldly that he doesn't have a clue either. Tilting the container, the intruder says he just got orders claiming she needed to be taught a lesson. Showing absolutely no mercy, the guy dumps all the disgusting, slimy liquid right onto the defenseless educator. The victim's desperate scream echoes through the school's front, shattering the tense silence. Completely drenched in filth, the woman stumbles into the staff room, while all her coworkers stare in pure shock. Plugging her nose because of the unbearable stench, Yuna collapses into tears, feeling the crushing weight of the extreme humiliation she just went through. A little while after the stalker mess, teacher Yuna opens her own locker and finds a sketchy envelope with a heart drawn on it. Opening the package, she is hit with a horrifying and disgusting surprise left inside as a clear, cut threat. The shock is so massive that the educator lets out a scream of pure terror, grabbing the attention of everyone in the staff room. Right away, her coworkers rush over, trying to figure out what just triggered all that panic. Completely sick to her stomach from the cruelty, the young woman runs down the halls, covering her mouth so she doesn't throw up. Reviewing the case, the old vice principal keeps a deadpan, bureaucratic vibe while dealing with her employees' trauma. Over the phone, the cops say they can't do anything right now except issue a warning, casually suggesting the woman just make sure doors are locked. Feeling completely abandoned, Yuna agrees to the advice and thanks them for the useless help with her voice totally breaking. Right after that, her phone pings, notifying her about a fresh batch of unwanted texts. The stalker sends aggressive messages demanding to know who she was talking to and accusing the educator of cheating on him with another guy. The teacher freezes instantly, terrified, realizing the creep is still watching her every single move. The educator's daily routine turns into an absolute nightmare as the days drag on in the city. Consumed by fear, the young woman resorts to sprinting down the sidewalks like crazy just to make it back home safely. The screen of her phone lights up the dark bedroom, flashing an endless wave of missed calls from a blocked number. Totally cornered, the educator hides under her blankets, shaking with pure terror in her own bed. Unable to handle the psychological torture anymore, the woman grabs her head and cries uncontrollably while the phone just keeps ringing. Snapping back to the present time at the BBQ joint, the restaurant's machine prints out a fresh delivery ticket on the counter. Watching the educator vent at the table, the Ghostmaster looks at her pain with eyes full of pity. Wiping her tears, Yuna takes the blame for all the stalking, claiming she should have handled the student better. Shaken up, she explains the kid was genuinely making progress with the counseling sessions before he completely snapped in that sick way. Not buying that logic at all, Teacher Ha-san demands to know how her friend can seriously think it's her own fault for suffering all that abuse. The fighter guarantees the delinquent never actually changed and that he only got close with garbage intentions from day one. Handcuffed to her coworker with makeshift cuffs, the literature teacher keeps crying and insists she should have kept things way more professional. Vice principal shrinks in her chair, creeped out by the talk, while Hassan sighs, totally frustrated by her friend's stubbornness. Deciding to make a move, the math teacher stands up, pulling her friend by the handcuffs, and declares she is absolutely not staying by herself. Right then, the blue spirit points his finger and orders the MC to act fast and get those cuffs off the two educators. The old coach keeps a serious stance and asks if the teen is actually seeing what's going down in the joint. The untouchable kid turns his head, totally confused, and starts scanning the restaurant. Near the entrance, a delivery guy in a blue helmet is just chilling against the wall while the system announces another order is ready. The weird part is that the driver is just standing there with his arms crossed in the exact same spot, even though the orders haven't stopped rolling out. The MC finally catches on to the danger, noticing that this mysterious guy is obsessively watching their table without making a single delivery trip.